that later maybe because
Let's just throw the whole plan out the window. Let's talk about this mystery volleyball signature and goose grease. How's that sound for a 4-hour show today?
Stop saying goose grease. It's also Thursday, Nick, not Wednesday.
You didn't even get the day right. And by the way, I didn't catch it. He said Wednesday. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so it's
pretty close.
But yeah, Nick sent us a link to a story. I'll just read the headline. Some men use maxi pads for excess gooch grease. I have no idea. Did not click on the story yet to read the details.
Huh.
Not yet.
Huh. Is that a real story?
Yep. 913-586-7610. That's how you can hit us up on the Jays Southland Tow Service text line. And it was also a snitch line Thursday coming your way and the 1 o'clock hour today.
And please, no criticism.
Well, don't check the text line then.
Come on, guys.
Mostly supportive. Someone says, run it back, Nicholas. Wow,
Nicholas.
Nick. Wow,
No, I deserve that. I
Someone
deserve
says,
that.
wow, Nick, that was elite. Well done.
I deserve that.
There's one person on here that essentially, no matter what you do wrong, is like, talent beyond his years.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
More of that.
What a job.
More of that, please. Pick me up when I'm down.
That's exactly
Don't
right.
beat me when I'm down.
Do you mind, while you're at it, making sure your camera's on, since we're talking about that?
It's on. Flashing green.
So that's on me then, huh?
Sure seems like it.
Sure seems like it. You're the one who...
Okay, don't do this.
Do what?
We don't need to turn this into like who can dig the other person more.
Okay. We'll just agree. You know, let's be friendly the rest of the way. How's
How
that
about
sound?
positivity today?
I'm for it. I am for positivity today. We can agree. Let's be nice to each other. Do you think we could do that for the next 3 hours and 55 minutes? Can we agree for just this one day
How about just
to be nice to each other?
let's make it to 11 o'clock.
You know, it's baby steps. I think Nick's right. Baby steps.
So let's see if we can make it to 11.
Without any digs on each other. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Well,
But we
there's
can
only
try.
one way to find out. Let's give it an honest try.
Let's do that. We've talked so much about wide receivers, like over and over the last calendar year, understandably so, whether it was the Tyreek Hill trade or now the focus in on DeAndre Hopkins. So let's go away from the wide receivers just for a little bit, unless something all of a sudden happens during the show on the DeAndre Hopkins front. But for now, other than wide receiver, we're talking about this Chiefs team. We're talking about goals and aspirations. They're preseason Super Bowl favorites. They're going to always be in this conversation. But looking at the roster, which you and I yesterday were discussing, you know, is it potentially going to end up being the best roster around Patrick Mahomes by the time the end of the season happens, or is that something still years off? Outside of wide receiver, what's the area where you're like, hey, that's going to fail them? They're not. That's going to be the big hiccup of this team already, knowing that it's June 1st, by the way. We're still got a little under 100 days till the start of the season. The biggest hiccup coming up short in the playoffs or not making it to another Super Bowl. Your answer can't be wide receivers.
Then my guess would be the offensive line. And I know that sounds weird because I think that they're a top 5 offensive line in the NFL, but I would say that there's still unknowns about the tackles, right? Like, we're not sure if Jawan Taylor is the left or the right tackle yet. I'm pretty sure he's the right tackle, but I'd like to wait and see a little bit. And when it comes to Donovan Smith, we don't know if he can stay healthy. And if for some reason he's not able to do that and Jawan Taylor's at left, then it adds the question of both who is the right tackle I trust and can Jawan Taylor handle left tackle. So and honestly, that should tell you how good I feel about the depth of this team. If the thing I'm telling you is something hypothetical that could be a problem and not just saying the linebackers is the thing that's going to stop them, that should tell you all you need to know, because I have a hard time imagining other parts of this roster right now being the reason why we sit here on, let's say, February 1st, and we're like, Chiefs got knocked out of the playoffs in stunning fashion. What was the reason they came up short? Wide receivers number one with a bullet right now. Still is. Was last year. Still remains that. My guess is that it's hard for us to imagine like their secondary was so bad that was it. They've been a very good secondary for multiple years. Why would I think all of a sudden that unit falls off, other than if all the rookies they trusted last year just aren't any good?
Yes, my answer is not the offensive line. One, I agree with you that we're both confident in that group, but also they have shown time and time again, with the exception of when they've had 2 tackles be injured in the Super Bowl against the Bucs, that they've been able to plug and play for a 1 or 2 game basis if need be, right? I mean, heck, even Andrew Wiley at one point was supposed to just be a fill-in guy. And he ended up starting 17 games, more than that, including the postseason, for this team a year ago, and was average, but more than capable, and certainly held up his end. We all know in the Super Bowl, 0 sacks allowed against that great defensive front of Philadelphia. He was part of that, and he got paid. That's why he's out in Washington with the Commanders this upcoming season with Eric Bieniemy in that group. And so I think they've shown, Cody, that if one injury were to happen, that they have a good enough offensive line, coaching staff, and some potential depth there that they can do it in a spot start basis. I still think if you were asking, hey, what's the area that potentially could regress or be a concern, I still think you're going to have to look on the defensive side of the ball, yes, just because of the youth on this team. As much as it was a great story, Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams and these guys playing much more, first of all, than we thought, and also playing at a higher level probably than we expected in the rookie year. But there's always the concern there that one of those guys just ends up not being able to adjust now in year two and continue to build on that, and therefore there's some problems there. This is why we're talking about a championship caliber team again, because you're nitpicking. It's much easier if we're sitting here, we're talking about the issues with the Houston Texans or whatever. Well, there's a long list. There's a very long list of things they could go
give me
bad.
the list of the reason why the Texans don't make the playoffs. And you're like, I don't know, their quarterback, running back, linebackers, corners. It doesn't matter. I get it. You can say literally anything.
But this speaks to how good the roster still is and continues to be coming off of a championship season that there's holes in every single one of these. Like if you say, hey, you're worried about the secondary or you're worried about the O-line, like, yeah, I get it, but also there's plenty of reasons not to be concerned. There really isn't one particular area where you can definitively say, oh, this is going to be a major problem. We're taking wide receiver out of this conversation. I would still disagree. Even if that was part of the conversation, I would still disagree that you could definitively tell me, that wide receiver is going to be an issue for this team. Because, again, they just last year showed us that with a cast of receivers, they were still the number one scoring offense. If we're really looking at the...
Yeah, but I'm not talking about what stops them from getting to the AFC title game. I'm just saying, if we're having this conversation where, they got knocked out of the postseason, why? That obviously, as we've said, wide receiver, I think you can make an argument for corner, like we just had mentioned, Gold, but maybe that's it. What else? I mean, we're never going to say there are certain units.
Getting after the pass. It's still getting after the pass rush.
It's
still getting after
George. They were second in the NFL last year. Right. You think they're going to take some massive drop off?
Look at how they did it.
Look how they did, but also...
I always do it that way. I don't know.
Chris Jones, he had a 15.5 sack season. If suddenly he's down to 10, and Karlaftis, who had 6.5, for whatever reason, he ends up at 5, and then Felix Anudike-Uzomah doesn't have Karlaftis' rookie season, which wouldn't be fair to expect 6.5 sacks, and so he's a 2-sack guy. You don't have Frank Clark back, and Amenihu, who we're going to talk about in just a second, let's say that he's not as impactful as we thought. That's how you come up with scenarios where suddenly the pass rush becomes the 12th ranked pass rush in football.
By the way, some friends have done some research on this volleyball for me.
Okay.
I now know the signature. Based on other examples online, the signature on the volleyball is none other than gold medalist Misty May Trainer.
Oh, it is her. We guessed that earlier. We just weren't sure.
That's the only volleyball player we can name.
Garage sale?
I think so.
Ask Spec. Gotta ask the boss. Again, there was a
you mean the ball that he was just randomly batting around the office? I don't think
you and I were doing bumps at Spike without there.
I don't think he's got any emotional ties to that.
Just give it away to help the Negro League Baseball Museum.
But when you talk about the pass rush, they manufactured sacks in a way that most elite pass rushers don't do it, right? Because Spags with the exotic blitz packages, that's great. He is good at what he does. But in terms of being a great year-to-year pass rush, usually you have to do it without having to send the house, without having to blitz on every down, and we don't know that this unit is going to be capable of that, mostly because there's a lot of unknown quantities on it. We don't know what Charles Omenihu is going to be. We don't know what Karlaftis is going to turn into here in year 2, and we don't know what Felix is going to be in year 1. So the only thing that you know is Chris Jones, who's coming off a career year. Can he keep that up? Or will there be some natural regression back to what he's done most of his career? If it is, like Gold said, 9 or 10 sacks, then all of a sudden, you really need some other guys to pick up the slack to just maintain pace with what you did last year.
I don't disagree with that, but they have been, since before we were talking about when they really had trouble getting pass rush, 2 years ago, right, when they were 30th in the NFL in sacks, they have been throwing resources at it. I understand that, Nick, it might not pan out, but they've been throwing nothing but resources at it. back-to-back first-round picks. You just mentioned Omenihu. We think they'll bring in yet another veteran pass rusher. Chris Jones is on this roster. Mike Dana is a 4 or 5 sack player under normal basis. They bring back Turk Wharton. Like, they run 8 or 9 deep. I mean, they are a very deep defensive line unit.
No,
I have a hard time imagining that they would be like the Achilles heel of this team, barring an injury.
No, well, I think, again, the question is for a team that is championship caliber, that has still one of the best, if not the best, roster in football, the question is, where's one area that it can be problematic? I don't know if there's any area where it's clear as day the Achilles heel. You're asking for areas. I think pass rush is absolutely in that conversation, though, because you're right that they put resources at it, but it doesn't guarantee success. You're like, they added Charles Omenihu. That's great, but they also lost Frank Clark. So unless Frank Clark still ends up signing here, it's not like they added to it. They lost Frank Clark and they added Charles Omenihu back to the picture here. It's not like they added.
They added Felix Anudike-Uzomah.
Yeah, but
they added a first-round pick.
He's a rookie, though. Just because Karlaftis had 6.5 sacks, by the way, is not the bar we should be setting for Felix Anudike-Uzomah this year.
No, it should probably be 3.5 or 4.
I think so. Yeah,
I mean,
think so.
But that's still but that replaces Frank Clark's sack numbers. Like if Uzomah is that. He replaces Frank Clark, and Omenihu was just an addition. He's just an extra player, or if they add a veteran guy, or if they bring Frank Clark back, for God's sakes.
Well, that's why, with the caveat, I mean, if Frank Clark ends up back in Kansas City, then they've actually, to me, added to the defense.
I just think that but I already think it's a deeper defensive line than it was a year ago. Because Frank Clark, especially
right this second, I don't know how we can say that. Carlos Dunlap's still not back. Frank Clark is not back with this team. Yes, they added Omenihu, and a rookie to me does not automatically add into exactly what you had. They also on the interior defensive line. It's great they brought Derek Nottie back, but they lost Colin Saunders. I mean, there's additions, but they've also lost pieces. I would argue that you potentially, best case scenario, you've matched what you had last year, which would be incredible.
And then we've got the questions about Omenihu, who is on like every contract for the Chiefs apparently, nothing but incentive laden, which means what? That we feel good that he's going to do that? That we think he's not going to do that? Because Gold, you looked up his number. I think Aaron Pride had the article out.
Yeah.
The entire thing is incentives, including Super Bowls and others. Like half of his incentives are not likely to be earned.
So he had a prorated signing bonus and all that. $7.5 million turned out to be $250,000 more than everybody thought at the time. Then if you take a look overall, all the amounts total about $8.6 million guaranteed at signing, and then there's $2 million of the following year's salary becomes guaranteed. And he's got some incentives, but as we know, it gets a little complicated. They label them as likely to be earned or not likely to be earned, whether it counts against the cap or not. He has $2 million in what they categorize as not likely to be earned incentives that he's each of the 2 seasons. They all include 65% of snaps being played, and then it goes up from there. So if he just plays 65% of the snaps for this football team, he gets $500,000. If he gets 65% and they make the playoffs, it's $1 million. If he gets that and they go to an AFC title game, it's 1.5. They win the Super Bowl, 65% of snaps, and the team wins the Super Bowl. It's $2 million right there to get overall that he gets guaranteed.
Well, that'll tell you how big of a role they're planning on having, because you know what percentage? I looked it up. He played for San Francisco last year, 54. And look, that's the deepest defensive line in the NFL. So it's probably a little bit harder to get in the rotation there. Frank Clark, for example, played 69% of this team snaps last year, which was actually kind of a high number, higher than I guess I thought it was going to be, considering how much they do rotate those guys. So I don't think that 65% is a sure thing he hits. There's a chance they essentially pay Charles Omenihu nothing.
Yeah, and that's why it's labeled the way it is. Also, looking over the 4 years, you mentioned last year for the 49ers, but over 4 years for the Niners, he played for the Texans, I guess, as well. He's never been in more than 54% of his team's defensive snaps. Last year, Chris Jones was 80%. Now, Chris plays more on the interior, but he also plays on the outside. Omenihu, by the way, can do both as well. Chris Jones was the only Chiefs defensive lineman that went above 65% of snaps last year.
Well, that's because
that's pretty wild to think about.
It's typically how it works.
Now, Karlaftis was 64%, so he was.
Yeah, he's on the cusp.
Frank Clark 63%. So they had 2 guys that were within 2% of automatically us saying, well, 3 guys actually had over 65%.
Yeah, but if you landed 60, Juju Smith-Schuster, I think, learned this the hard way. Because you know what? I never saw the feel-good story that said Juju Smith-Schuster got his $1 million anyway because he had to play in 65% of the snaps in the AFC title game, and if they won it, he'd get $1 million. I don't remember the feel-good story coming out, Gold, that said they gave him his $1 million. By the way, we could talk about that in relation to Did that amount? Did those things ever impact his free agency decision? Just to go to a much worse team, but they offered him more money, so that's probably it. But when you look at a Minihue, I think there's a chance that if they do pay him, a lot of these are going to land in the not likely to be earned, which means they'll still have to pay the cap hit. They'll just have to pay it down the road. It's honestly kind of the perfect setup for we've replaced some of our defensive line needs with a Minihue, and he's going to have to really earn it to play 65% because he's never played anywhere close to that, which means he's going to have to be in shape. He's going to want to have to take those snaps. He's going to want to have to earn it. And they think they'll get better sack numbers out of him. If he plays 10% more than he played last year on the defensive line, 15% more, you would think a 10 to 15% increase in his sack numbers. So if he's a 5.5 sack player now, can he be a 7 sack player for you? If he's just simply on the field more. And I think that while they like the rotation, they do still want like 4 guys that when, it's the fourth quarter and you need a damn sack, these are the 4 guys in the offensive line, and you can trust them. And I mean, he was supposed to be a part of that package.
Coming up in 12 minutes, we're under 100 days, about 97 days or so away from the start of the NFL season, and we'll go take a look at the AFC West a little bit. Every question that I still have and Cody still has.
97 of them. 97 questions.
About the AFC West.
Oh, okay.
No,
we're not 97 questions.
We're not going to do a 97-day countdown. 97 questions.
That feels intense. Yeah. I feel like the lowest number you could possibly start that at is 30.
Well, we could just say that this is the first question.
Of 97?
Yeah, and we'll come up with a new one tomorrow. It's 1 question a day. We can do that.
90? I don't want to do this 97 days in a row.
We already do 1 question a day.
And if we should have started at 100. A nice clean number.
I can come up with 15. 97. I can come up with 15 questions by the end of the hour.
Give me 3 now.
Who's your favorite player on the Chiefs?
That's not we're talking about
Okay.
We'll get to questions at 10:30.
Surprise cut. Boom. There's 1 question.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like an Arrowhead Pride feature.
Who will have a breakout season? There's 2 questions. Whose play will decline this year? 3 questions. There you go. Wow. I'm on a roll.
Fine work. I'm going to skip.
Continue.
Let's workshop it. I'm not saying no, because remember, we're getting along. Let's think about it, Nick. Let's workshop it a little bit, and let's cycle back to this idea at about 11:01-ish. I think I'll be ready to give you a full answer then about how I think it may or may not work.
Okay.
During Nick's great intro, he mentioned or tried to mention something about
Please don't say it like that.
Air conditioning.
We didn't even make 10:20. That's it. First shot.
Air conditioning.
A little passive,
air conditioning and helmets. This is something I can't believe it took this long, but you guys might have seen last night. There was a couple stories about this that down at LSU, the football team is going to have new model helmets, and they will have air conditioning in their helmets. The airflow is going to last for 5 hours, and so they will have a cooling effect. They're battery-powered, and overall, they should last for 4 years, the actual battery in these helmets. Of course, very humid down at LSU. Why hasn't this happened sooner? What's taking so long?
It's an unnecessary invention. Your face can't be hot for a few hours.
There's a lot of things, Cody, that are unnecessary, but they cause things to be a little more comfortable for people. Now, look, there's going to be some guy out there that's going to text in, 913-586-7610, say, these players are just soft. These days, man, back in my day, we just sweat our asses off and dealt with it. We had heat stroke. Like it was a good thing that happened. No, I'm all for the air-conditioned helmets. Why not?
I mean, it seems like a cool idea, and the players obviously are very cool. But you know what this seems like to me? This seems like the reason you're saying, why didn't we have it before? The reason why I can tell you why the reason they have it now.
Okay.
It is the continued arms race of college football and the spending that comes with it. Have you seen LSU's locker room? Have you seen what most of the college facilities in the Power 5, especially in the SEC and the Big Ten right now, are better than that at the NFL level? They are full of gadgets and millions of dollars in electronic equipment, and now they're going to be first on the scene with an air-conditioned helmet. Like, not only is it presumably, I guess, a competitive advantage, like you would think that the Chiefs would be in a competitive advantage if they were playing a 97-degree game in Jacksonville, right, and they had an air-conditioned helmet. That would seem like an advantage in some capacity.
Within the next 5 years, everybody's going to have them.
And if everyone has them, fine. But if you're LSU, you can be the first one who has them. Maybe it equals, I don't know if it equals a win over the course of the year, but there's a competitive advantage over it. Otherwise, why would you do it?
The funny thing will be there'll be a game at some point where the quarterback will lead a touchdown drive and be like, man, the AC in my helmet shut off. I was sweating like I've never sweated before.
It's going to be the saddest war of attrition.
I knew I just had to make it through. You know,
I had to power through.
it's gonna be hilarious when that happens. But
I don't know if you guys have ever experienced, but there was like sweat getting in my eyes, and that made it very difficult. That's how he'll describe it. Like, yes, that's how the rest of us live.
There's going to be a player also post game.
You know, might say that Jaden Daniels. He might be saying that in post game this year as the quarterback of LSU.
That's right. There you go. You got it. Good job. Good job. There might be an opponent of LSU when they beat them this year. Be like, we didn't have those AC helmets. We still went down to Baton Rouge and got a win. Someone's gonna use it as motivation. Like,
we're gonna have to play.
Have you guys seen the blueprint of the actual helmets themselves? Is it gonna be like a little whirring?
No, they already put them on. There's video of the players putting them on.
No, but like the inside of it. Like, how does the AC function operate?
It's a little like
little battery powered vent.
What if it explodes?
Well, it just starts smoking. The helmet just starts smoking. There's some player gets burnt.
By the way, I just want to let it be known, if Patrick Mahomes is scrambling out, evading pressure, almost gets sacked, flips to his left hand, and meanwhile there's smoke billowing from his helmet as he just rifles a pass downfield, that's going to be the coolest highlight of his career.
That's going to be the most amazing photo of all time.
You can't even see his face because there's just smoke surrounding his helmet.
I imagine Mahomes' moment would be like, it's malfunctioning, and so in the middle of the play, Nick, he takes his helmet off and then still makes the pass.
He gets flagged.
He has to take his helmet off in the middle of the play, throws it 50 yards downfield and be like, there's nothing I could do. It was malfunctioning. Instead, it was heating my helmet. By the way, anything you add technology-wise means something Bill Belichick can cheat at. So he is already thinking about how to make those do the opposite effect, or how to turn theirs off while theirs are on. Like, oh no, like how their radio comms always go out at Gillette Stadium, but only for the opposing team, not both teams. Like, their helmets will be feeling great. And by the way, if we're getting AC ones, heated ones are coming too, right? I mean,
yeah, but I don't know if you would want heat on your head. That actually, I don't know if you want that as a football player.
Like cozy?
I don't know. Even if you're playing at Lambeau and it's 5 degrees, I don't know if you want that.
No, you don't want that. You sure? People like heated seats. You don't think that they like?
Have we advanced enough with concussion protocol and helping the helmets be better for concussions that now we've moved on to ACs? Have we advanced?
I think we've just given up on making football safer.
Okay.
The NFL just implemented flexible scheduling for Thursday night. I don't think that they're real worried about that. I mean, the helmet safety's gotten better.
It definitely has gotten a lot
Players
better.
are probably like these air conditioning helmets better than they like the Guardian helmets that they wear in training camp now.
Yeah, the numbers showed already. Those actually have been helpful.
I know, but the players still don't like them. As you remember, as the Kelsey brothers, I think.
Do you want air-conditioned headphones? Do you think you get too hot while you're doing the show? Do you need headphones that blow air?
I mean, I wouldn't mind it.
A little warm.
It depends on the show, if we're being honest.
If we're out on remote at training camp St. Joe, you just want the headphones that have a fan built into the headphones.
Probably keep them from like turning into dust like they do now.
Yeah, but after those shows up in St. Joe training camp, there are shows where at the end of the show, Cody and I will have like black marks on our face because the ear pads, whatever it is, has
like
rubbed
disintegrating onto your face. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the last thing we need is like somebody's like those foam pieces in there melting to someone's face because their heater overheated.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be putting a heater in a helmet.
Just asking what's next. That's all.
Cody, always an innovator.
You know. So what's the next idea? Not the current idea that everybody's working on. So what's next?
What is next are not 97 questions, but about 97 days till the start of the NFL season. Let's look at the AFC West. I have a question for each particular team. Next.
Cody and Gold.
Hey, it's Vinny Pasquantino. Even though I have a real beef with Nick, tune in to Cody and Gold weekdays starting at 10 o'clock right here on 610 Sports Radio.
Brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. For asphalt, concrete, and parking lot maintenance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trusted in Kansas City since 1994. Online at GANNasphalt.com.
Look, it's easy to come up with excuses why you can't accomplish certain things in your daily routine. You're just too busy. We're all very busy. But what if I told you one of those things you really don't have an excuse for anymore is finding out how you can improve your vision? That's because my friends over at Dury Vision have now added virtual consultation. So maybe you couldn't make it in to Dury Vision for the free consultation that I've been telling you about for the last 2 years or so, a consultation that resulted in me finding out I was eligible for LASIK and had a procedure just a couple days later. Now I don't use contacts or glasses. I just see with my own two eyes. Now you can have that consultation conducted virtually over Zoom as well. So you just don't have the time maybe to make an appointment to go inside Dury Vision's offices. Again, just do it from your home. Do it from your office on a break. Whatever it may be, you can have that consultation conducted virtually. Just go to DuryVision.com. You can even take a self-candidacy test online as well, or give them a call at 913-491-3330. That's 913-491-3330, and tell them Alex Gold from 610 sent you.
NFM shops the competition so we can guarantee you the lowest prices. A mattress store sells a queen adjustable base for $949. NFM has a similar adjustable base for just $769. A department store sells a Beauty Rest Select King mattress for $965. NFM sells it for $779. Plus long-term financing on qualifying purchases. Big selection, big savings. NFM. Store closed early Sunday. Comparison sources shopped on May 15th. Minimum monthly payments required. 18% APR. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
This is Royals Hall of Famer Mike Sweeney. The Royals and Foundation are teaming up with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City to recognize outstanding high school sport coaches through the Blue KC Coaches with Character program. We'll recognize 6 coaches as a Blue KC Coach with Character. Each honoree will receive a Royals VIP package and more. To nominate an area high school coach, go to seeyouinthemajorleagues.org/Blue KC.
Nothing says summer like an ice-cold Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Smooth, refreshing, real brewed tea with 5% alcohol. Look for Twisted Tea in the bright yellow cans. Keep it twisted!
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Do you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes? Good news. There's a new way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative. Call U.S. Tax Shield, A+ rated with the BBB. 800-391-5063 for your free consultation, and let U.S. Tax Shield protect you from the IRS.
Come see a world-famous Budweiser Clydesdale tomorrow at Side Pockets in Lee Summit from 4 till 6 p.m. and this Saturday at Chicken and Pickle in Overland Park from 3 to 5 p.m. Come see a Budweiser Clydesdale and enjoy the limited edition Folds of Honor Budweiser and Bud Light bottles.
Hey, you know what I don't get? Why is that company always telling you to just do what? What is it? To just look like everybody else? Or maybe just pay way too much for your shoes? Well, at Skechers, we know what we want you to do. Just slip in. That's right, just slip in to new hands-free Skechers slip-ins. Because we think once you try a pair of Skechers slip-ins, you're not going to want to just do anything else. Why? Because slip-ins are the easiest, most comfortable shoes ever. You don't have to bend down to put them on. You don't even have to touch them. Heck, your hands can be forward. You can just step right into them and go. They're that easy and comfortable. So what are the secrets behind Skechers slip-ins? It's like they have an invisible built-in shoehorn so your foot slides right into place. Then our heel pillow technology keeps your foot comfy and secure. And slip-ins are for the whole family, men, women, and kids, in all your favorite styles. So just slip in to Skechers Slip-ins. It's just that easy. Find slip-ins for the whole family at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold. It's time to turn up your summertime fun with Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Twisted Tea is a smooth, refreshing, real brewed tea with 5% alcohol. So whether you're camping, fishing, or at the beach with friends, don't forget to fill your cooler with those bright yellow cans. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Keep it twisted.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
It's your last chance to shop Memorial Day savings at Lowe's. Now's the time to make your home beautiful with savings on all your spring essentials. Keep cool in style with the Harbor Breeze Summersville ceiling fan. Was $189.98, now just $169.98. And clean up your yard with Craftsman. Buy a V20 string trimmer or leaf blower for just $99 and get a select Bear tool free. Lowe's knows lawn care. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 6/7. Selection varies by location while supplies last.
Royals baseball is in full swing.
That ball is gone. It's a home run by Vinny Pasquantino.
With the free Odyssey app, local fans can listen live all summer long, whether you're at the grill or at the pool.
Looks up and it's gone. MJ Melendez hits a solo homer over the right center field fence.
Royals baseball. Royals announcers. Streaming live on the free Odyssey app. AUDACY. Get in the game and download it today.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Chiefs coverage brought to you by Max Motors. 9 major vehicle brands to choose from. MaxMotors.com.
The Great American Road Trip sales event going on at all Max Motors dealership locations. Enjoy your summer payment-free for 90 days. Over 30 banks and credit unions offering the lowest interest rates available. Shop 24/7 at MaxMotors.com. Open late. See dealer for details.
Thanks for joining us here on a Thursday. Just getting started. We'll get to Nick's notable notes coming up in 10 minutes or so. So we're just under 100 days away from the start of the NFL season. Of course, the Chiefs will start that NFL season on Thursday night kickoff against the Detroit Lions at Arrowhead Stadium. The banner is going to be unveiled, and it is going to be an unbelievable scene since, again, we did not get that full experience a couple years ago with limited capacity after the Chiefs Super Bowl win at that point in time. So this will be, it's kind of cool. Yes, it's another banner in just a short period of time, but this is a whole new experience this go around out at Arrowhead. And so
they're going to get a full capacity.
Yeah, and they're going to have to go through the AFC West, of course, again, if they want to have home playoff games and put themselves in line to be the number one seed. And so just under 100 days to go. What's the biggest question for each of these AFC West teams outside of Kansas City? We've gone over the Chiefs questions, of course. And I'll start with the biggest challenger to Kansas City. We all understand that. That's the Los Angeles Chargers. The question there is obvious. It is whether or not Kellen Moore, their new offensive coordinator, can maximize what they have in this great talent at quarterback in Justin Herbert. We can question Brandon Staley perhaps, sure. But it's ultimately going to come down whether or not Kellen Moore is able to succeed as the OC. Because Brandon Staley can do a great job vamping up the defense for the first time, even though he's a defensive-minded guy. But if Kellen Moore can't get the most out of Justin Herbert, then it's not going to matter. Justin Herbert's been fantastic, but he, I think, should be better based off of what he is as a talent. Well, who's to blame there? I think it's coaching. Brandon Staley. So now you go get an offensive coordinator that's going to be a little more aggressive, we believe. Kellen Moore comes up from Dallas. I think it's a great hire, but that's still my biggest question. Can Kellen Moore's offense be creative with the skill set? He's got a better quarterback than he's had to work with. Dak Prescott's been good, but Justin Herbert's a more talented quarterback to work with than Dak Prescott.
I mean, that's certainly a big question for them. The fact that they were 13th in points per game last year with Justin Herbert, a guy who throws for 4,000 yards and 35 touchdowns every year. But he also was injured a lot last year. He had that rib injury that took place during that Chiefs game early in the season. He was dealing with that the rest of the year. And look, you and I both have very serious and I think more than fair questions about Brandon Staley's ability to be a head coach. But to me, their way bigger question mark and continued question mark of the last 2 years has been, are you going to stink on defense again? They were the second worst defense in points per game last year, or 2 years ago. Last year, they moved up to ninth worst. So, I mean, yeah, they were better, but their margin between points scored per game and points allowed per game was about a half a point. You know what that gets you? Maybe 500? The defense is worse than them last year. Only 2 made the postseason. That's it. And it was, 3. Minnesota, we know how quickly that thing fell apart. Miami and Seattle. And those teams were better offensively in a points per game standpoint than the Chargers were. So it's like, if you can't play even mediocre defense, then you're not going to get it done.
I think they can at least be middle of the pack, though, this year. You mentioned the injury to Justin Herbert. Well, let's do the same thing on defense. Joey Bosa only played in 5 games last year. J.C. Jackson, their big offseason acquisition,
he's done for the year
only
early.
Played in 5 games. So, look, injuries have always been the story for the Chargers. So that's just part of the equation you have to factor in. So it's a fair, I mean, maybe the question, Cody, should just be, can they stay healthy? Because that's been such a problem for them in general. But I will say it's not as if J.C. Jackson, their new addition, Joey Bosa, they were all playing and they were the 9th worst. Those guys just weren't playing. So
you're not going to go from 23rd and those guys show up and you're the 5th best defense in the NFL.
No, but I think the peak for them, they could be the 12th or 13th best defense in football, and that would help them out drastically. J.C. Jackson and Joey Bosa, can they stay healthy? If they can, that's a much better defense.
I mean, but that's still my question. Like, I think that they can score and Justin Herbert's good. I don't know, and I have yet to see, despite resources, that they can play consistently good defense across the board. And if you can't play consistently good defense in the AFC,
well, no, again,
that's a big problem.
I'm with you. I don't disagree.
Yeah,
I'm saying it's gonna. That's why maybe the question should just be, can they stay healthy? Because play consistent defense. Well, I haven't seen them have their full parts yet. The problem is that's every year. This very conversation we could have probably had a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I mean, for the last 5 years, it's always been about, well, this guy got hurt, or Keenan Allen got hurt, and Mike Williams, and now we're talking about Joey Bosa. All right, what about the Raiders? Because yeah, right now I think everybody's focused in on Jimmy Garoppolo. For me, it's honestly about the future. Is Davante Adams, this is last year in Las Vegas? I know they just traded for him a year ago, but my question is, with his comments, I know he's walked him back a little bit, mentioning how he wasn't happy with the direction of the franchise, but his buddy that he signed up to play with out in Las Vegas is now in New Orleans, in Derek Carr. He has a head coach that may be gone after this year. He's got maybe Jimmy Garoppolo throwing the ball, or it's going to be some backup. And even if it's Jimmy Garoppolo, not exactly the guy that's going to make sure I get my 1,400 or 1,500 yards receiving. That's just not in his game. And so mid-season, and certainly after the season, I expect, and I wonder if we're going to have a lot of noise around whether or not some team would be putting together some trade package and making phone calls to the Raiders. If the Raiders are a 3-win, 4-win football team and it's mid-November, I don't think it's impossible. It's one of my questions I have about him and the Raiders this year.
My question is this the big drop-off year? You only get to be mediocre in the NFL so long, and then either you're really good or you stink. And I'm pretty sure that this is the stink year for the Raiders, as in they're going to finish last in this division bad. That's the questions I have, because if you want me to make it about the roster and how to make them win, the only question I would have is, can Jimmy G heal his foot in enough time to even make this offense passable? And the answer to me is no. They don't have enough talent. They are the worst coach team in the AFC West, and I'm including Brandon Staley in that conversation, a coach I don't believe in. And they have the worst quarterback situation in the AFC West, and that includes Russell Wilson, a quarterback I don't believe in. And that's not just to knock on Jimmy G like we do on this show. It's because he's hurt. They don't have enough, like they got rid of Darren Waller. They do still have Davante Adams, but they don't have a great offensive line. They got problems everywhere else. They're just a mess. I really question the biggest question I have for them is this the seller year? Are they getting ready to be a 4-win football team? Because I don't have any questions about how they get better.
Well, look, they were a 6-win team last year, and you're saying finishing last. Like they were, the Broncos had 5 wins. They were pretty close to finishing last.
They're gonna finish last
a year ago. They are going to finish last in the AFC West this year.
I feel like the order of the AFC West is about as obvious as it has been, which is Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos,
I think
Raiders.
so. Like there's always surprises in the league, but it seems pretty predictable this year. And also, acknowledging that you mentioned losing Darren Waller. Other than the Tyree Wilson draft pick, maybe you could talk yourself into Jacoby Myers signing. I don't like anything the Raiders did this offseason. I really don't. None of it makes sense. Tyree Wilson's the best part of their offseason. We'll see how he develops, pairing him up with Max Crosby. But Jacoby Myers with Davante Adams, but who's throwing the football? Is it going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, or is it going to be Aiden O'Connell or somebody else like that? Then you have the Broncos. You mentioned them. 5-win team a year ago. We all know the story there. Nathaniel Hackett
the
out.
biggest question has to
Sean
be,
Payton.
Russ.
It's pretty
right.
simple.
I mean, I don't even think the three of us are going to argue with that.
Can Sean Payton get more out of Russell Wilson? That part I think is a yes. The question is enough to make them a contender as a wild card team, right? That's the question. He's going to get the most out of Russell Wilson compared to what they have. I mean, there's no doubt he will be a much better coach and position his quarterback better.
Hackett was laughable.
Hackett was awful. Literally from week one, it was evident. We're like, oh.
We didn't realize Hackett was this far out of his depth. And then he was.
So it's not just can Sean Payton get more out of Russell Wilson, because I think it's obvious, yes. But enough to where they are a team we're talking about in the final 2 weeks of the season that is vying for a wild card spot. I think that's best case scenario for the Denver Broncos this year. And by the way, I actually think they can be flirting with 8 to 9 wins, and therefore you're talking about one game to flip. It requires them, not, okay, you're going to get swept by the Chiefs maybe. Maybe they split, but they've been swept for many years now. Can they sweep the Raiders, who are going to be bad, or are they going to split with them? You know what I mean? That's what has to change for them this year.
So if I'm just ignoring the Russell question, which is obviously the biggest one, can Sean Payton make Russell Wilson a top 15 quarterback again? Like he was 2 years ago when he left Seattle. The only time we've seen him look this bad is when he ran the entire operation, and you and I both know that Sean Payton's not going to operate that way. But the other part is, for me, question-wise, is the defense going to hit its cliff? Defenses have a shelf life in the NFL. It's why when people say defense wins championships, it's not wrong, but it's also not the way to build a winner for a decade straight or 15. Like, if you want to have a sustained run of success, it's not about one defense that is great in that moment. Ask Seattle that. Ask Denver the last time they were really good in 2015. They've had a really good defense for 3 years in a row. The second they go from second or third ranked defense as far as, points per game go, and they're 9th, 12th, 13th, well, then they're really in trouble, Alex. And I mean, that's where the hopes that maybe Broncos fans have or the thoughts that you maybe have about what they could do this year are completely out the window.
Defensively, we know the secondary is legit. Like, that's not a problem with what they have. And Pat Surtain, the second, it's their defensive line. I think that's probably one of the, if we're diving deeper into the roster for them, like, what's the defense? These are names on their projected starters along the interior of their defensive line. Zach Allen, free agent acquisition, DJ Jones, and then Jonathan Harris or Tyler Lancaster. I'll be honest, I don't know who those guys are other than maybe Zach Allen.
We haven't had to pay attention to the Broncos lately either.
I understand, but like, it's not like, oh man, they went and got some of that. So like that. I'm not saying they can't improve, but that would be their weakest spot on the defense, is the defensive line. Like, you know the name Randy Gregory, okay?
And we know how good their secondary has been lately.
That's what I'm saying. The secondary is not a problem at all, but defensive line would probably be their weakest area on that defensive unit. So there's just a couple questions as we're a little less than now 100 days away from the start of the NFL season, and look at the AFC West. We'll get to Nick's notes in just a couple of minutes, but you want to talk about a guy that now you're adding to that list of guys that's just never going to stop playing his sport? Add him to the Travis Kelce list?
So in listening to what he had to say in the offseason and what he had to say last year and before he signed back with the Royals, Zach Greinke was talking about his career. And pretty much the way he put it was, I want to pitch as long as I am still an effective big league pitcher. Well, guess what? Greinke is again. I don't know how, but even after a tumultuous April, which he did have, and just ignore I know the win-loss is never going to look good for a team that's 20-something plus games under 500.
Right.
But for a guy who is well into the twilight of his career, Zach Greinke's found it again. Once again in April, he has proven himself a quality big league starter. Is he perfect? No. Are there problems? Of course. It's all the normal stuff that you would be like, this doesn't, like, he is not a perfect major league pitcher. He goes 5 innings every start. But even in the month of May, he pitched 31 innings with a 2.30 ERA. Gold, he's going to do the same thing. He's going to go through the entire year, and he's going to finish with about a league average ERA of around 4. And I feel like if he hovers near there, he's going to want to keep pitching. And at this point, keep bringing him back. You know why? Because as it sits right now, Zach Greinke's been your second best starter this year again. So until you have solutions in the starting pitching thing, I don't care. Just let Zach Greinke pitch here forever, I guess, because I don't see any other solution to this.
Yeah, I mean, we know how thin they are on the pitching staff. On any team, he could be their 5th starter. The problem has always been for me just that he's essentially had to become their 2.
Yeah, as we just said.
And so like that's the issue. Yeah, would I be interested if he's able to have any sort of resemblance of what he's done in May, which has been much, much better, and that you don't have now the final couple months of the season where it blows up on him? Then yeah, I'd be interested. But
his lifetime contract and let him choose when he wants to retire.
I would still like them to go and obviously spend some money in the offseason on pitching. And as Vern told us yesterday, it's true. Daniel Lynch might be the most important guy right now for this pitching staff to find out if he's someone next year, start of the season, you can rely on. Because in a perfect scenario, you'd like Zach Greinke to bump back and be your team's 4th starter next year. Unfortunately, right now, he's probably still going to be this team's 3rd starter or 2nd starter.
But that's why you also just sign him to forever. Say, all right, man, you're going to retire Royal, and you just tell us when you want to retire. When you get that 10th stolen base or whatever, you can hang him up. He's made it clear that's the only milestone he cares about. Nick, this is a very true story. This is what makes Zach Greinke great. He's been asked about other milestones, the 1,000 different batters he struck out, all these things. The one he has expressed the most interest in actually accomplishing is being the only pitcher all time to hit 10 home runs and have 10 stolen bases.
He's got 9.
He is 1 stolen base short.
Will he get it?
No, they're never going to let him pinch. Why would they let him pinch?
Well, if you were wondering, he hasn't stolen a base since 2019.
He got caught the last time he tried to steal his 10th base. For the first time, he was 9 for 9, and then he got caught stealing.
Well, what if he expresses his interest into the season and he says, please, just like, I need this.
Also,
maybe. They should.
We also know universal DH is also hasn't helped the situation.
No. But
end of the year, lost, the season's over.
They should let him do it.
Yeah.
He should be actually their permanent pinch runner in all of September.
Like, come on, I'm one of the best pitchers in franchise history. Can you just give me this?
Bases are bigger. They can only throw over so often. It's easier to steal bases than it's ever been.
It is. That is part
of it. It's the easiest it's ever been to steal bases. Let that man get his 10th.
Wouldn't that be comedy if, like, they bring him in as a pinch runner? Would that be the first time ever that a pitcher... Because that's the thing. The Royals could make history. If they bring it for the first time in the history of baseball... They bring in a full-time pitcher as a pinch runner.
Let him do it.
And not even a fast one. It's not like Zach Greinke's Gerard Dyson out there.
He's like an Olympic-level sprinter in his free time.
He's also only 70 strikeouts or so, 71 away from 3,000 in his career, too. That's another, if you're talking about milestones for him.
Because you don't have any other long-term answers that are fighting this, it's very simple. Let Zach Greinke pitch here forever. Until you have enough starting pitchers to qualify for 5 starters, Zach Greinke's your 5th starter in perpetuity. You can be 47 years old for all I care. The one you guys were, the tweet I sent out, you guys were making fun of me. He threw as Greinke does for the last 10 years. He will throw 88-mile-per-hour fastballs directly followed by 88-mile-per-hour changeups.
Yeah, the tweet.
That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, you quote tweeted the video of it, and you said, like watching Monet do a painting live for you.
That's how I feel about it.
Which.
That's dangerously close to a dig.
Very careful.
But so far, it's just a statement of fact. You did tweet that.
That is a statement of fact.
It's the way he said it.
It's the way he said it that makes me question it.
He referenced the tweet, so I had to explain. You said the tweet you make fun of me for. Nobody knew what tweet we were talking about.
And we were talking about making fun of me before the show started, before we put the rules in place.
I had to reference the tweet. If the people were listening, they had no idea what tweet you were talking about. It had to be said.
That's true. But before we get in too much trouble, we should probably let Nick do notes.
Gotta write something down. Nick's notable notes.
So last night, I'm just hanging out at the crib, the pad, the chill palace, if you will.
That's what you call it, the chill palace?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm minding my own business when my phone goes off. I got a text from Alex Gold. It's a link to a tweet. And not exactly the type of tweet that we normally share with each other in our group chat. It is a tweet from a man on Twitter commonly known as X Factor. Ty X Factor Roten. And it's a picture, an interesting picture, with X Factor, Chiefs superfan, surrounded by 6 scantily clad women with the caption, "I live such a rough life."
Correction. It says, "I love such a rough life." There's a typo. He hasn't corrected.
Well, for all you know, that's what he was trying to say. I love such a tough life. Hashtag Chiefs Kingdom. So, X Factor bouncing back after what's been a pretty brutal couple of years for him, getting bounced out of Chiefs fandom and then maybe flirting with, joining other teams. Looks like he's back full force with the Chiefs. But guys, the real reason I wanted to bring this up, because X Factor, as we all know, is somewhat of a spare.
I'm a meth addict.
Yeah.
Which I'm a cocaine addict.
He's not one of those Chiefs super fans that has a big fan base or a rallying support around him.
No.
One guy who does, though, Chiefsaholic. Today on June 1st, guys, it has now been 65 days since this guy skipped bail, removed his ankle monitor, and is still out on the lam. And there are absolutely, at least according to my sources, no leads on his current whereabouts.
65 days.
We talked to someone not too long ago that works for the U.S. Marshal Service, or is a U.S. Marshal, and he said, look, it's not really a priority, considering some of the other individuals they're after. It's not like the movies where they got everybody on earth looking
Tommy
for this
Lee
guy.
Jones and the gang getting together, tracking him down.
Yeah, they're not going through swampland looking for this guy,
No. Every highway, byway. No. They're not doing that for Chiefsaholic.
No.
I do think that I know people have kind of floated this out there as a joke, but I do believe eventually this is perfect for like a short Netflix docuseries.
Someone says
his background is incredible. If you can get anyone to speak about his lifetime leading up to his moment of being free, absolutely.
There will be something on Netflix or
Unsolved Mysteries? Can we get him on that?
I don't know if it'll be that or if someone will make just a movie about this guy, basically a Chiefs super fan that's going around allegedly robbing banks or something. I think that it could be almost like a comedy. I think I need the real version.
Oh,
I
and
need
then you want the dramatization.
Okay. Yeah, I need
Tiger King. There was a Tiger King movie with Kristen Wiig. You want both the actual documentary and the
both.
Oh,
documentary, and then I need some comedian starring as Chiefsaholic, and it's this funny movie.
Who do we cast?
It's on Netflix, not the theaters or anything. It's just on Netflix.
Yeah, who do we cast in the Chiefsaholic movie?
Man. I don't know.
Because there's the thing that doesn't get talked about enough. Chiefsaholics low-key jacked.
Is he?
I don't know. He kind of looks like a little stouter.
I don't know.
But, that's the beauty of, we talk about streaming and how it's getting more expensive. The beauty of streaming is that the possibility for different shows to get made. Like 20 years ago, there's no way they're making a show about Chiefsaholic. Now I would call it a downright guarantee.
Yes.
They need to get a big-time actor. They could get Mac from It's Always Sunny. Rob McElhenney. He'd be perfect for that role.
He'd probably be pretty good. Is he a little too old, though?
Dude, it's Hollywood. You got Robert De Niro playing a 20-year-old.
Paul Rudd is Chiefsaholic.
That might be too close to home.
Yeah.
That might be a bit too close to home.
By the way,
Paul
says
Rudd.
that picture of X Factor is from 8 years ago. He just tweeted it yesterday, though.
Hey, play the hits. If it works, it works.
Was it probably his peak, He was remembering his best times.
You think he's probably not getting, the same attention from women now that he was 6 years ago? 8 years ago?
Is he younger?
It is funny to me that there was it is funny to me that there was a period in time in which simply dressing up like a buffoon in Chiefs gear would get you attention.
Well,
like X
they're
Factor,
still super fans.
Yeah, but X Factor.
I mean, he punched someone, man.
I know.
My old apprentice. I actually made him famous. Gave him the name Red Extreme.
It's Red
I saw
Extreme.
him come run up the stairs at me, and he had that look, I'm going to kill you. And so I tried to grab his jersey to stop him and talk to him, and he, like the movie Friday, he deboed me one punch, and I saw stars. And they took me to triage at Arrowhead, checked me out. I felt all right at the time, but then I didn't know I'd broke my ribs.
By the way, speaking of famous paintings, you could have made a Renaissance painting of him passed out in that photo of him lean back. It's like someone's holding him. There's people all around witnessing it. It's like a Renaissance painting. It's so ridiculous.
That clip will live on in infamy.
Oh yeah,
forever.
Yeah.
We'll never go away.
Those are Nixonable notes. Here on Cody and Gold. Up next, though, it's somebody that maybe has taken the step forward that we didn't expect, and why it's a good thing, but what does it tell us about some of these other Royals players? We'll get to that next.
Cody and Gold.
Gold, I want a new weekly segment for you called The Steam Room.
But you got to do it shirtless.
That's Cody's request.
Brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. For asphalt, concrete, and parking lot maintenance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trusted in Kansas City since 1994. Online at GANNasphalt.com.
Midwest Marine Boat Company is celebrating their new location, now open in Grandview, Missouri. And with summer already here, Midwest Marine Boat Company has everything you need for summer fun on the water, and most importantly, to keep you on the water. In fact, check out their service department. They've added technicians, which means turning boats around faster. You're not waiting weeks just to get back on the water. Their service department is more efficient than anybody else around. And if you're looking for a new boat, they have the largest selection of pontoon boats in the area. It's Midwest Marine Boat Company in Grandview. We take pride in your fun.
Hey guys, it's Nick. Summer is almost here, which means pool and beach season is right around the corner. If you wait for June or July to get here to try and start getting into better shape, you're not going to see the results you hope for this year. So why wait? If you don't know where to start, give 213 Flashpoint a try. It's not going to shred your love handles overnight, but it will give you a nice nudge in the right direction. 213 Flashpoint is a powdered supplement. I drink it every morning to start my day, and it gives me long-lasting energy without the crash. It also helps curb my appetite so I can ignore my sweet tooth and make it to my next meal. This isn't my first time trying to get into better shape, but it's the first time I knew it was going to happen. And that's all thanks to the guys at Supplement Superstore. They introduced me to 213 Flashpoint, and they came up with a simple plan that fits into my daily routine. The best part is, it's all free of charge. When you work with the guys at Supplement Superstore, you're not in it alone, and sometimes a little help is all it takes to finally stick to your fitness goals. If you want to make this summer different, try 213 Flashpoint. Check it out at any of the 8 Supplement Superstores locations in the KC metro area.
Even a wager that misses can be a slam dunk with BetMGM, an authorized gaming partner of the NBA. Place a same-game parlay wager with 4 legs or more on any NBA Finals game, and if you miss one leg, no big deal. You'll receive up to $50 back in bonus bets. Just log into your account or download the BetMGM app and sign up today to get started. Take the court with confidence when you parlay with the king of sportsbooks. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly and offer resources to help you make appropriate choices. BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years or older to wager. Kansas only. New and existing customers offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Nothing says summer like an ice-cold Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Smooth, refreshing, real brewed tea with 5% alcohol. Look for Twisted Tea in the bright yellow cans. Keep it twisted!
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Do you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes? Good news. There's a new way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative. Call U.S. Tax Shield, A+ rated with the BBB. 800-391-5063 for your free consultation, and let U.S. Tax Shield protect you from the IRS.
The Dell Technologies Summer Sale event is on, with savings on select Fostro and Latitude PCs with Windows 11 Pro. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call 877-ASK-DELL.
Attention taxpayers. If you or your business owe the IRS back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, the IRS has green-lighted billions of dollars in tax relief to those facing financial hardship through its tax relief initiatives. If you have a delinquent tax problem and possibly facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, audits, or already in a payment plan, you may now qualify for significant relief. Qualifying and enrolling in this program could stop all collections, settle your tax problem, and may even reduce what you owe by up to 99%. Call the hotline at Tax Help USA to see if you qualify and receive your free tax assessment by dialing 800-341-3137. If you or your business owe back taxes to the IRS or state, you can now get the help that you need during these hard economic times. Get your free tax assessment to see what you qualify for by dialing 800-341-3137. 800-341-3137. That's 800-341-3137.
Join the 69 Express Project. We're hiring for all positions. Stop by Country Inn and Suites in Lawrence next Thursday, June 8th from 3 to 6 p.m. for on-site interviews. Start earning competitive wages and benefits immediately. Country Inn and Suites in Lawrence, June 8th from 3 till 6.
I can't wait for what's next. Even with higher stroke risk due to atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Eliquis, the Pixaban tablets, reduces stroke risk. It's the #1 cardiologist prescribed blood thinner.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or have antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising, or if you have tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take medicines such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Max Motors Studios.
Hey, this is Trent McDuffie, and you're listening to the official broadcast partner of the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
KCSP Kansas City, WDAF HD2 Liberty, always live on the free Odyssey app.
Isn't that powerful? Isn't that powerful? Isn't that powerful?
11 o'clock hour, Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Nick Short with you. We'll get to the trash of the day in about 20 minutes or so. Something you should not do while you're at the gym. We'll just leave it at that. But we were talking about Zach Greinke in the last segment and what he's been able to do in the month of May, kind of his turnaround this year. Somebody else on this team that has had a much better month of May now heading into June is Michael Massey. We had him on the show a week or so ago. He has looked like a completely different player at the plate. Now you look at his broader numbers going back to last year. They're still not where you need them to be. But a great sign of improvement, perhaps not only for him individually, but also more faith again in Alex Zumwalt and what they've been able to do adjustment-wise, because it was brutal in April. I'll be honest. Like, there was a point in time where you wondered if he wasn't going to get sent down. That's how bad it was. But he had a really, really strong month of May, and looks like he's stabilized his standing, certainly with the big league club, to say the least. And so he's taken a larger leap forward all of a sudden than maybe we would have thought. On the flip side,
maybe not so much for MJ and Bobby.
And that's the weird balance here. Because I still think deep down for long-term success, I think it's pretty evident that players like Bobby Witt Jr. or MJ Melendez, those two guys are going to have to be a bigger part of the equation and will. For them, as great as it is to see what you're getting now out of Michael Massey, because I think it also might give you some flexibility around the trade deadline. If Michael Massey's still playing at this level, I'm not talking about trading Massey. I'm talking about what you might be able to do on the Nicky Lopez front. Like, he might be someone that ends up no longer part of the organization if you feel confident that you have Michael Massey. Maybe a month ago you would have said, yeah, you got to keep him around.
Well, a lot of this is, I think that this conversation is, do you want to feel better about the Royals today on June 1st, or do you want to feel worse? And I get it. Plenty of people have tuned out because the Royals are bad. But during the stretch when Massey has been much better, they're 10-15. And that's without big leaps from Bobby Witt Jr. or MJ Melendez. Bobby Witt Jr., who's only in his second year in the bigs. MJ Melendez is in his first full year as a big leaguer. But so is Michael Massey, who in the month of May hit .319 with a .412 on base, OPS of .940, home runs, walks. His strikeouts were much more reasonable. Still a little high probably for what they need to be. But across the board, he was their biggest jump from April to May performance-wise on the offensive end. Like, he took a big step forward, it felt like. But again, it's so hard with the Royals. So, like, I could tell you, it's like, well, good. Because if they found something in Michael Massey here, and then just Bobby and MJ come along, this is an offense. Vinny, MJ, Bobby, Massey. Like, it starts to turn into something tangible, believable, something optimistic to be about with this team. But if it's, he is showing progress, why the hell aren't those two guys showing progress? Then I don't feel as good, Gold. This is really like, it's a crux to bear, because it really is, do you choose to be optimistic about the Royals today, or you choose not to be? And unfortunately for me, it's making me feel a little bit worse that Bobby and MJ haven't yet shown those strides. Maybe they're walking a little bit more, free swinging a little bit less. But, I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. is still getting on base at like 270 clip. MJ Melendez is still striking out a ton. Some of the power numbers are there, and we can see some of the special things Bobby Witt Jr. can do. But we get tired, don't we, of the conversation that is, look how special of an athlete they are, and it looks different when they do that. And maybe it's because we just did that with Mondesi, but it's like, show me actual hard numbers here eventually that prove you're the type of player it says you can be.
Yeah, we've had that discussion around, the balance of, superstar potential versus just being a 10+ year big leaguer and one of the best players on your individual team. Are you going to be a guy that's going to be a multiple all-star at some point in your career? And I think that's why we discuss Bobby Witt and MJ Melendez in a different regard, not only because where they were drafted, but just the expectations that have come with that. So the leap forward for Michael Massey has been great to see. But yeah, you're ultimately, if you're picking who needs to take the leaps forward now going forward, obviously at the top of the list is still Bobby Witt Jr. and MJ Melendez. And I would argue, if you're hoping still for Bobby Witt Jr. superstar, last week he gives you a flash of that when he was 5 for 5 or whatever it was that he had and he came near a cycle and all that. Like, those are the glimpses. But then, like any baseball player, he also then had like an 0 for 11 stretch. That's going to happen. But I think
his are more frequent right now still.
Correct.
And we haven't seen him put together that month, that like Bobby Witt Jr. month.
I still, if you're hoping for superstar,
or the Michael Massey month. Sorry.
Yeah, if you're still hoping for superstar, then you could say, well, you need the bigger leap from Bobby Witt Jr. But if you're hoping for an all-around just good play, MJ Melendez, you could argue, actually needs to take a bigger leap at this point in time.
Yeah, you see it more with Bobby Witt Jr. Again, not a perfect player because his on-base is 266. And look, we've diminished some of the importance of certain numbers across baseball. Like if you look at his, OPS, whatever. We can go way down the analytics rabbit hole and tell you why there are still things to feel good about him. And he is hitting for a slightly higher average, hitting for a much better slugging percentage. So he's getting more extra base hits in May, Bobby Witt Jr., but it still doesn't feel like the kind of and look, maybe Massey just had a hot month. maybe this conversation's moot and Massey's going to like regulate himself a little bit. But he looks like he's settled into comfort, where to me, it still looks like Bobby and MJ are trying to like find themselves a little bit at the big league level. And maybe there's just more to that. And again, I think you could take this whichever way you want. You can take this as a positive or a negative, because it's not a bad thing, right? It's definitively not a bad thing that Michael Massey has cemented his place, as you put, at the big league club. That's fantastic news. We were worried he was going to have to get sent down, refigured out, do all these things. No, he got to work through it. Had a great month.
I mentioned it a couple minutes ago. Do you think that also increases the likelihood, though, somebody like Nicky Lopez could get moved?
Yeah.
At the deadline, because now you feel like, okay, well, Michael Massey's doing
You got to
enough.
hitch your wagon to the younger players because you're still a couple years away.
And I think like we've said, nobody should really be off limits anyway when it comes to the trade deadline this year. But if you're putting together likely guys to get traded, obviously Chapman's at the top of the list, Scott Barlow's at the top of the list. I think Nicky Lopez probably is somewhere one of the next one or two guys after that as a potential trade candidate for the Royals when we get closer to that point.
And it's not, like Nicky Lopez has done fine.
So I'm just thinking long-term value and also what value he presents to other teams.
And he'll present value because he's versatile. Teams like versatility, but he's still a light-hitting player, right? So for those teams who go look for the big-time hitter, they're going to be worried about it. But he's getting on base at a much better clip than his career average this year, and he's a versatile defender. So, of course, somebody will have interest in him. That's the way the trade deadline works. He's not going to bring back the Hall, but that's what you're hoping to do when you trade Chapman or Barlow or any of the other relievers that have done very well for you this year. You would think that that's the methodology you go with it. I'm choosing to feel it's hard because it's like I still want to see Bobby and MJ start taking those leaps, but I'd just be an optimist today and be like, hey, look, we don't have to question whether Massey is an everyday big league player right now, because he's coming off a tremendous month, and he bounced back from what was a really tough April, where we definitely thought that there was a chance. And he was getting benched occasionally for other players who might have been more available at that time. And then when Nicky went down, he took full advantage of the situation. Nicky Lopez went down with an injury, and Michael Massey said, I have to play every day.
Looks just way more comfortable at the plate, plain and simple. So that's a really positive sign just for him individually. All right, so we'll get to the trash of the day coming up in about 10 minutes. Or so. I saw this on Twitter. I want to spin off of it a little bit because I think it's interesting to see what everybody's answer is. 913-586-7610. It's just from How About Those Chiefs Twitter account. You just said, hey, who do you think has been the most, outside of Mahomes, important or a valuable, effective player draft pick-wise for the Chiefs since 2017? Let's go past 2017 and just say 2018, the most effective draft pick. From that point on, who has that been? That's a good sample size now since 2018. Who's the first name that pops in your mind? I know there's two that pop in my mind immediately. I think number one that does, obviously, I know it's positional value, but of course, Creed Humphrey, as far as one of the most, it's a center though, so I represent, I understand that.
But this show's allowed to say that. We support offensive linemen on this show.
Then the other one, is it not another position we don't deem as all that valuable?
You going to say Nick Bolton?
I am. It's that or L'Jarius Sneed, who I probably should say, actually.
I'll be honest. I think it's L'Jarius Sneed with a bullet. He plays a premium position, and he is a plus player at that position.
Sneed, Bolton, Creed Humphrey.
Think about it like this. If all three of those guys, those three you just named, if they were all free agents right now, who would command the highest dollar amount, right?
L'Jarius Sneed. Absolutely. No doubt.
I don't know. Premium safeties get about, he's a corner. So
Creed Humphrey might end up being the highest paid center, but that's still way less
than what
I
Sneed
think.
will get.
What, Jason Kelsey makes $14 million on a one-year deal, and that's the most any center makes?
Yeah, probably. Something like that, yeah.
I think it's L'Jarius Sneed because of positional value, but if I was throwing that out the window, then it's Creed Humphrey.
Why would you throw that out the window?
Because Creed Humphrey is the best center in the NFL. So, I mean, if you draft any player who's the best player and you're talking about value and worth, and we talk about all these things about, things that matter to your quarterback more. The offense, honestly, the offense is more important for the Chiefs than the defense. Mahomes is more important than anybody, and that's a guy who has to work directly with him.
But none of that counters out what we started with, which is positional value. If having the number one center in the NFL was that important, then Jason Kelsey would be making $20 million, not 14.
The two teams with the two best centers in the NFL last year, where were they, Nick?
They also had two quarterbacks that were the MVP.
We're talking about centers.
No,
we're talking about centers, who are the number one and number two centers in the entire NFL.
Wow.
And did they play in the Super Bowl last year?
That didn't get talked about enough.
So wait, you think, so that means the biggest thing holding up teams like Buffalo at this point, teams like the New Orleans Saints.
Pittsburgh can't stay healthy.
It's not Brandon Staley's fault. It's not
center.
injuries.
Gotta have a better center.
Wait, don't they have a really good center, Corey Linsley?
They do.
Last year, the Pro Football Focus rankings center were Creed Humphrey, Jason Kelsey, 1-2. Ethan Pocic, Cleveland center. David Andrews, who's New England center. And then John Feliciano, who's the 49ers center.
So after the first two teams, it kind of falls apart a little bit.
Yeah, my argument, it's hurt. I'm not going to lie. It's hurt a little bit after center 1 and 2. We get back to it with San Francisco and Buffalo, though, at 6 and 7. So
that's three of the AFC and NFC championship teams.
Let's look at the bottom. Who are the worst teams at center?
Let's not. Let's end this charade now.
And just agree that it's L'Jarius Sneed?
I mean, it has to be.
Round pick?
It has to be, right?
I think it will eventually be Trent McDuffie. Again, same thing, positional value, but his ceiling is higher than L'Jarius Sneed's. It's not to say that L'Jarius Sneed isn't a better player now, because he is, but the ceiling for Trent McDuffie and what he can mean to this defense is higher than what Sneed is. I just don't have enough evidence. Like, my guess is that when we answer this question, let's say you're 10 years down the road. So we say pretty much the 2018 drafts through 2028. My guess is that our argument will probably be McDuffie or Karlaftis.
Well,
but Sneed is on that list.
I mean, but if you're
Creed Humphrey might have played for this team for 10
years.
years.
No, but I mean, if you're going to say that we're now going to expand it out to 4 years,
we're guessing future. Yeah, but I mean,
my guess is somebody that they draft between next year and the next 5. One of those guys is going to be pretty damn good. At least one,
most likely.
I feel pretty safe in saying that.
Like a wide receiver.
You give me 5 years to find one player that we're.
Yeah, but if it's 3 years from now, then you're talking about only 2 years in the system. It's just a lot different. Most of their value, truthfully, because here's the thing. If we're talking about some of their most valuable picks and we take out all positional value, well, the offensive line is the huge winner in this regard. Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, those are right there. They've gotten really good value out of other guys they've drafted near those positions. Like, offensive line and corner, that's what they've continuously gotten. Talent. Like, that's pretty clear. There's not a single defensive lineman that we would have even entertained in this conversation unless Karlaftis is going to turn into something. We just don't have enough evidence yet. And everyone else was like a one-contract player, right? I mean, Juan Thornhill, good player. McCole Hardman, good player. It was one-contract player. They don't have the impact Sneed did. Sneed is, I'm pretty sure, the heavy favorite in this conversation. But, yeah, I think Creed deserves his place in it. Or Nick Bolton, maybe third. He's a very good player. But is he a second contract player?
Those are the three I mean, those are the three.
I think Trey Smith deserves at least a mention.
Yeah, but I think what we're doing with Trey is value comparison versus just actual on-field value.
But that's exactly what you're doing with Creed, though.
No, I know.
He means draft pick, though.
Draft pick value.
Second round. You're not saying position value.
I'm saying, like, Creed Humphrey's clearly the better offensive lineman, but we value Trey because they got him in the 6.
I mean, who was it? It was James Palmer who said at the beginning of the offseason the Chiefs view Trey Smith as their most talented offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And you could argue playing guard is more important than playing center. They're certainly paid higher than centers are. And as a guy you got in this, like, I think you could make that argument that he is just as important as Creed Humphrey.
Someone said, text line, Tommy Townsend. So we would do most effective undrafted guys.
Yeah, he didn't get drafted.
He didn't mention Jody Fortson then.
If we're doing undrafted guys, this conversation's even harder.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it.
What would Isaiah Pacheco have to do to be a part of this conversation? Only 1 year in, and he plays running back. But if we're going to
5 years as a top 1,000-yard back?
See, that's ridiculous. Because if you're willing to
5 years of 1,000.
If you're willing to include a center and an inside linebacker, you can't sit here and tell me running backs don't matter.
Isaiah Pacheco.
You just wax poetic about a center.
I did. I stand by that, but yeah, I get it. Center is more valuable than running back.
The thing with the running back is we already know, we saw it last year. I mean, they're going to have 2 or 3 running backs be part of the equation this year. Even like that, whether it looks like Jerick McKinnon, but Jerick McKinnon, the undrafted guy, or Clyde, one, if not both of those guys, 2 of those guys are going to have a huge role at times. Because we saw it play out that way. It's not just one running back. They don't play with 2 centers. It's not like, well, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith on the offensive line, they're not as valuable because they rotate in with backups. No, the running back's the one position for a starter that on a regular basis you could say their backup is actually sometimes more effective in one particular game.
This is a good reminder, and this is remember, this is a small complaint. This is not saying that I don't think Brett Veach is not the best or second best GM in the league. This just goes back to the same thing. he still needs more checkboxes off the list of premium positions that he's drafted well. Like, he hasn't found that wide receiver. To this point, he hasn't found that defensive end, but maybe didn't Karlaftis, right? He hasn't found those, what we consider premium positions yet. That's why we're having conversations about. But that's probably why he would also like it to be Sneed. A fourth-round guy that you've gotten 4 solid years out of starting that deserves a second contract, and if he doesn't get it with you, he's going to be highly paid somewhere. I mean, obviously, he is an incredibly important player for what they do defensively. It's hard not to argue him, but it speaks a little bit to Brett Veach has done an incredible job drafting, but to this point, a lot of his weight has been done at what we devalue his position. Guard, center, inside linebacker, etc. Well, and of course, his free agent find in Tommy Townsend.
Yeah, that's right.
He is a second contract guy. He's already gotten it.
Yeah, they tendered him for, it's like 1 year, right?
No, second contract, second contract.
Yep. You know, they tendered him. He didn't have
That
to do
means,
that.
so we forgot to mention him last week when we were talking about pillars, cornerstones.
Tommy Townsend, you want to call him a pillar?
Well, they're building the special teams around him.
Yeah,
around
you
his
guys
foot.
have a lot in common.
We both like to fish.
Yeah, among other things.
Both like to have a good time. He was having a lot of fun at the victory parade.
Nick, can you reenact his most recent Instagram photo?
I haven't seen it, but I will check it out right now.
Well, no, just commit to it now. Will you
commit before saying it?
It can't be that offensive.
Will you reenact his most recent Instagram
As much
photo?
as you travel, you can absolutely do this. The hair is going to be a problem.
He's it looks like he's near a beach. He's inside of it looks like almost a sauna, but with a giant window overlooking a beach, and he has just underwear on, and he's casually just leaning up against this window. Why don't you reenact that one, Nick? Why don't you do
That's
that?
a dope photo. That's a dope photo.
You know that he uses that on his Tinder profile.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Why the hell wouldn't you? You're young. You've got a Super Bowl ring. You're an NFL player.
You have great abs. It's like, I might as well. Good for Tommy Townsend.
Man. So is that a yes, you will reenact that? Or
Yeah, I will. I will. At some point in time.
In Paris?
During my life.
No, in Paris.
No, we're
during
thinking
my
of the
life,
next-
I
we're thinking-
will.
Here, Nick, you can do the Nutcracker costume
that photo?
or that photo.
I'll do the photo.
Wow.
Okay, so you want to do that this weekend or?
No.
In Paris?
Well, no, I need to find that. I need to
have to
find
do-
that location.
Lindsay can
No,
do
no,
it. It
no,
can
no.
overlook like downtown Paris or something. It's
If
fine.
you think that my girlfriend would ever be involved in any antics for the purpose of this show, you clearly don't know her well. I can picture
She
the
doesn't want to be
conversation.
part of our bits?
I can picture the conversation.
She doesn't
right now.
have to be
Just
in the
show
photo.
her-
She would say,
that-
"No, I'm not doing this."
Show her that photo and why you're trying to do it. It's not like you just came up with this out of nowhere. Just say, look.
Yeah,
this
but
is
that's
Tommy
going to start a whole
Townsend.
conversation. Like, why? What is the point of this? Why are you doing this? And then I don't know how to explain it.
Just tell her you're
Well,
a fan
you see, I
of.
lost a bet 2 years ago.
Tell her you're a
I like
fan
that-
of Tommy Townsend.
This is exactly how my wife acts, which is like when I ask her something and it's like clearly kind of like a why would you do this thing, she's just like, I'm not going to do that. There's not much of a conversation. It's just like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, there's
I
not
don't
like,
know the
it's
point
not
of
like I
this.
can win.
Yeah. I'd be like, hey, do you want to be in one of my songs? I need a female vocalist. Would you like to do it? No.
Bullpen and banter for 5 minutes. She's not interested in the banter,
Okay.
in the back and forth.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Let's get to the trash of the day.
Trash of the day.
Etiquette at the gym. Right, there's etiquette in a lot of places. The gym
Yeah,
certainly
wipe down
is.
the machine.
Absolutely. You know, rotate in, right? You know, hug
Yeah.
the machine, all of that. Well, there was a question posed on Reddit, and it has people talking because a man asked if he's wrong for bringing his dog to the gym. So he's 22 years old. He put on a question actually on the online forum, and he had people vote on whether a person should be allowed to bring their dog. He explained he brought his 6-month-old puppy to the gym because the dog has separation anxiety. He wrote that he decided to bring his puppy named Iron, of course, to his larger public chain gym a few weeks ago because he didn't see a policy that prohibited dogs. He showed up with Iron. The front desk attendant saw him, didn't say anything, and there's a photo of him working out, and he's got the dog just chilling next to him. Of course, this sparked a lot of people being upset on Reddit. Just because the gym doesn't say no dogs allowed doesn't mean you bring the dog.
Does the gym need to post every single thing that is not
prohibited.
allowed?
I know. No, you don't bring your dog to the gym. Look, dogs are great. Big fan of dogs. Have one myself. You don't bring the dog to the gym. You just don't do it.
Here's the problem. It's like, not if you're not going to control him. He said the dog got away and interrupted someone's workout once, which Equipages said. A bunch of different random strangers that came
the
up to him
dog
and
outta
said,
here.
quote, I should leave my effing dog at home and dogs don't belong in gyms?
Correct. Yes. I have no problem with anybody that was upset. You're working out. You got a dog there.
You know what? I'll make one exception. You can bring your dog to the gym, but he's got to lift. He's got to start. He's got to get buff.
What about if he just ran on the treadmill?
He's got.
Now that, by the way, would be badass. If all of a sudden you're at the
He has to
treadmill and
work out. He's got to work out the whole time. Otherwise,
You know
it
how
doesn't
easy
count.
it would be? The dog would just be shredding it on the treadmill. Dogs are so fast. They can run forever.
Someone says they think he was just trying to pick up girls. Could you imagine if Nick, you're sweating, you're working out, you're on the treadmill as well, and your cute dog is on the treadmill as well, and tell me that wouldn't help you out a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But otherwise, don't bring your dog
If
to
the
the
dog's
gym.
not
Your
working
dog
out,
doesn't want to be there.
Don't bring the. Well, he claims the dog has separation anxiety, which is a real thing. But you can't bring the dog to the gym.
You
Then
know
have
what
someone else
probably
stay with
induces
the dog.
anxiety? Seeing a bunch of random people walk around moving large, heavy items and clanging things.
I mean, there's no food there. I mean, it feels
People
like
have their water bottles. The dog might be going over and like knocking the bottles over.
I think allergies become an issue at some
You never
point.
know.
Like
People-
you're kind of disrupting someone's.
Does the dog shed? Then there's dog hair.
Yeah,
on
if
the
the dog
bench.
sheds, that's also an absolute no.
That's a
You'd have to
mess.
get one of those dogs that doesn't shed if you're going to bring it to the gym.
Yeah, they told me my dog wasn't going to shed. They were biggest liars ever.
Oh, they told you that?
Don't you have to clean
At the
every
shel-
day because
at
of
the-
it?
I vacuum my couch multiple times a week because when I got her from the shelter, of course, I'm like,
You
oh,
should
so
just put a towel down on the couch. That's what a lot of people do.
And you think my dog's just gonna be like, oh, this is where you want me to sit the whole time?
Animals instinctively just
no.
Animals instinctively lay on those
No,
things.
but
They
no.
just do.
She'll lay on blankets. If I just put one towel down, she's not gonna lay on that.
So
towel.
put a blanket down.
But then it helps. I've done that, but then I still have to then go wash the blanket, right? Because
I mean,
otherwise,
eventually,
when I
yes.
lift the blanket, the hair goes all over the carpet.
I mean,
then gotta
eventually,
vacuum.
yes. Doesn't necessarily mean right away.
But no, when I adopted my dog, they're like, yeah, she doesn't shed at all. I'm like, oh, perfect, great.
That's gonna make my life
the
so easy.
Biggest lie ever.
But there are dogs who don't
Oh,
shed.
I know.
You just didn't
I
get
know.
one.
I did not.
I also, someone pointed out, does the dog have a paid membership? I feel like if they're working out, they have to.
It's a friend pass. You get the friend pass.
Not if they come every day. They need their own membership. They got to take a photo, the whole thing. Wear it around their neck. You just put it like on their collar. Like, this dog's working out. He's a member of this gym. Let him live his life.
Just you can't be taking the dog.
It's going to turn into an Air Bud situation really quick. He's going to be getting in the gym, shooting hoops with everyone. Got a circuit train. Doesn't want to just run, Nick. He wants to like lift weights, get some other exercising in. You know?
You think the dog flashes, Nick?
You know, I can't, in good conscience, say whether or not that product has been approved for anything other than our species.
Yeah, that's probably smart.
Will you find out?
I can check into it.
I'm going to go ahead and
I'll
guess.
look
I'm
into
going
it.
to go ahead and guess the surge of caffeine. Not
Generally
great for the dog.
speaking, I don't think they
Yeah.
suggest giving dogs anything that is consumed by humans.
Well, but they're also not, most dogs aren't working out as much as this dog's going to start. You know?
That's true. That's true.
Very different.
Dogs usually aren't in need of extra energy. I don't know if you've noticed.
Coming up next, we'll get to the Chiefs Red half hour. We've talked so much about wide receivers. I promise you, we're going to eliminate wide receivers from this conversation about the Chiefs and the Super Bowl.
Cody and Gold. The Disgusting Brothers. Brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. For asphalt, concrete, and parking lot maintenance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trusted in Kansas City since 1994. Online at GANNasphalt.com.
Even a wager that misses can be a slam dunk with BetMGM, an authorized gaming partner of the NBA. Place a same-game parlay wager with 4 legs or more on any NBA Finals game, and if you miss one leg, no big deal. You'll receive up to $50 back in bonus bets. Just log into your account or download the BetMGM app and sign up today to get started. Take the court with confidence when you parlay with the king of sportsbooks. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly and offer resources to help you make appropriate choices. BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years or older to wager. Kansas only. New and existing customers offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
NFM shops the competition so we can guarantee you the lowest prices. A mattress store sells a queen adjustable base for $9.49. NFM has a similar adjustable base for just $7.69. A department store sells a Beauty Rest Select King mattress for $9.65. NFM sells it for $7.79. Plus, long-term financing on qualifying purchases. Big selection, big savings. NFM. Store closed early Sunday. Comparison sources shopped on May 15th. Minimum monthly payments required. 18% APR. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Come see a world-famous Budweiser Clydesdale tomorrow at Side Pockets in Lee's Summit from 4 till 6 p.m. and this Saturday at Chicken and Pickle in Overland Park from 3 to 5 p.m. Come see a Budweiser Clydesdale and enjoy the limited edition Folds of Honor Budweiser and Bud Light bottles.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/joy. That's 4hims.com/joy for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/JOY.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHIMS.com/JOY.
I used to get frequent heartburn at night, so I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine.
One pill in the morning, 24 hours, zero heartburn with Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Sunny this morning, cloudy by the afternoon, high 87.
Weather is brought to you by Beacon. Beacon has the newest power tool in roofing, the Beacon Pro Plus mobile app. Now through June, purchase online with Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Beacon, always building.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Chiefs coverage brought to you by Max Motors. 9 major vehicle brands to choose from. MaxMotors.com.
Buying a car is so hard, but with Max Motors, it is so easy. In minutes, they gave me so many options within my budget.
Don't overpay on your next new vehicle. Max Motors, worth the drive from anywhere. Select your vehicle at maxmotors.com.
Chiefs Kingdom. This is Mitch Holtis, and welcome into the Chiefs Red Half Hour on Cody and Gold. Every day at 11:30 on your official broadcast partner of the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
All right, it is Cody and Gold. I think we've made it 90 minutes without a true dig and controversy on the show.
We've got dangerously close a few times.
We have. Again,
more so in like our tone and how we speak about each other.
That's true. I mean, if you missed the start of the show, after the very smooth start that we had, we acknowledged we weren't going to crush Nick for the
We're
intro.
going to be nicer to each other.
And we said we're going to be a little bit nicer, you know? We're going to try just to see how long we can make it. Text line took the under on even 11 o'clock. We've made it past that. I don't know if we'll get to 2 o'clock or not. So we shall see. Like Nick said, we've come
Borderline will guarantee
Maybe
very
it'll be the
close.
Chiefs' red ass hour. Because one of us will get so mad that we'll be red ass.
Yeah, I get, yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Good one, Nick.
That was dumb.
Hey! Are you kidding?
There it is.
You jerk.
There it is. Okay.
Look, I made it as long as I could. Okay?
You don't have to be hurtful.
This is really on you, not on me.
I'm not even going to substantiate that with a response.
You don't have anything to say? Can't think of anything witty? Got nothing there, Nick? Nothing left? Just red ass hour and then you're walking out? Okay. We'll see where it goes.
I promise. in the Super Bowl, what do you think is the conversation in terms of, man, they just didn't have enough of this, or they didn't have this at that particular area? Because, again, I'm taking wide receiver out of it. Otherwise, I feel like, well, they probably just didn't get enough production from the wide receivers, although I would argue they found a way to get it done last year. That's why I'm still confident that it'll happen. So let's eliminate wide receivers.
For just a brief period?
Yep, just for a little bit.
Then the answer, I think everyone's going to want to answer defensive line, because just generally speaking, that would be an answer for, 20 of the 32 NFL teams. You wouldn't give that answer for Philly, but you'd probably give that answer for just about every other NFL team. So I kind of get that with it, but I'll say offensive line. And the reason why is because just generally it's a volatile position anyway, right? So it comes with risks, as we know. But even more so than it just being volatile is the problem that I think exists, which is, what if it doesn't go perfectly to plan? Because on paper right now, there's no question to me, Gold, that they are a top 5 offensive line. But that also comes with a lot of other questions we don't have the answer to yet. And if we don't have the answers to those things yet, then what if one little hiccup? What if Donovan Smith's not healthy? Then we have a lot more questions, don't we? Can Jawan Taylor play left tackle is a new question we have again. Can Yang play right tackle is another question. Can those guys hold up over the course of time? I know the middle part is set, but offensive lines, we also know, can be the things that cost you games. To me, that is the next thing on my list. If I'm not saying wide receiver, because that would be my obvious answer, then that's the thing I would bring up.
It's weird because I think outside of the Super Bowl against the Bucs, we all know that, where they then spent that whole offseason just revamping the entire line through draft capital, through trading for Orlando Brown Jr. One, they say basically, never again. We're not going through that again. But also, I think they've shown via the Andrew Wiley scenario, where he was never really probably brought in thinking he was going to start 17 games on a championship-winning team. But he did. He started all last season and did a pretty decent job at that. Got himself paid this offseason elsewhere, out in Washington with the Commanders. And so they've done a nice job, whether it's Andy Reid or Andy Heck, with kind of these spot fill-in type of guys. Look, if any team loses their left and right tackle, that I don't care who you are, right? Which is what happened to the Chiefs.
Well,
You're going to be screwed.
I mean,
right.
But I could say that for literally any position. What if they lost Kelsey and whoever? But Smith is a reasonable one to wonder
I
about.
bring up left and right tackle because that's what happened in the Super Bowl.
Sure.
Like, everybody acts like, well, the Chiefs have had a terrible offensive line before. Yeah, when they lost their left tackle and right tackle. I mean, so like, it's not as if they went into the season with that, and their O-line was just prone, just automatically knew it was going to be bad. They suddenly just had way too many injuries. So, yeah, I mean, the tackles up at camp and throughout the season will be an area we will focus in on. I do think, Cody, it's the pass rush. If on a championship caliber roster you're trying to nitpick and find something and we're eliminating wide receivers, a little unknown. Okay, Chris Jones, 15.5 sacks. What does happen if he just has a really nice season, and which is a 10.5 sack season, or
which is what he had the year before, and they were second to last, third to last in the NFL sacks. But 5 sacks wasn't the difference there.
I understand. So let's say he's got 10 sacks, or they lost. Frank Clark, as of right now, is still a free agent, so I guess there's a chance that he would come back. But right now, he's gone.
I haven't heard a single team.
Carlos Dunlap right now is gone. They brought in Charles Omenihu. They drafted Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who I don't think the expectation should be that he's going to do what Karlaftis did, just automatically. Oh, they were both drafted around 31. It doesn't work, or 32 in this case. I guess it was 31 this year. Thank you, Miami. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, probably 3 sacks. Anything more than that, you'll take. They lost Colin Saunders. They bring back Derek Nottie. We'll see. You and I both agree there'll be a veteran that gets brought in at some point on the defensive line again, right before the start of the training camp, whether it's Dunlap or another name, Frank Clark, who knows. That would be the one area. Like, what happens if suddenly there's a drop-off in the sack number for Chris
Jones? And they're the 15th best sack team or the 20th best sack team.
And Karlaftis can't find another sack or two if Omenihu doesn't do what we think. That would be the one area for nitpicking, trying to figure out, hey, what could be a problem at some point in the season.
Do you know why that's really hard to imagine for me? Is because across the defense, to me, there aren't that many changes. So the secondary is exactly the same. Like, I mean, it is a borderline identical unit. I understand.
Yeah.
Thornhill for Brian Cook, okay, and another drafted guy, and another free agent guy. So they've replaced Thornhill's expectation in the defense. Linebackers, the same. And the defensive line, you're right. The 2 names you can absolutely draw to that equaled about 10 sacks for this team, Frank Clark and Colin Saunders. Those are definitely the 2. And Dunlap, who equated, I think he maybe would have.
He was more about batting passes down, and he was but he did have a couple sacks, yes.
Yeah, so what? 10-2, he had 4 sacks. We're talking 14 sacks is what they're replacing. Those are the 3 guys. Okay, well, the Minihue, if he plays the amount Frank Clark is, he's 6. Okay, so now we're down to 8 sacks. Felix, let's call him on the conservative side. Let's just say he's done, Lamp. He's like 3 or 4. Okay, now we're down to 4 replaced sacks. That's going to be a veteran. There isn't and they still have the best players of that, in my opinion. They have Karlaftis. They have Chris Jones. They'll have a veteran pass rusher. I'd be really, really surprised.
Yeah, and we know
if they go into the season and not add to that unit.
We know
they've done it every year. Ingram, Dunlap, Clark, whoever.
We know L'Jarius Sneed and other areas on this defense they can get sacks from. Maybe even Drew Tranquil, the addition from the Chargers, is somebody that helps them in the sack department. But I'm talking about the defensive line in particular. And you're right. If you go 1 for 1 and you just replace a Minihue and you get the exact same Frank Clark, I don't know if we're going to get that. Also, that's assuming that you're still getting 15.5 sacks from Chris Jones, which I don't know anybody that's going to bank on 15.5. Now, do I think? I thought Chris was going to have 13 sacks last year, and I was called a little crazy for thinking that was too optimistic.
To me,
so this year I'll probably say 12.5 sacks for Chris Jones. I would sign up for that. And leave yourself some wiggle room when you're doing projections of sack numbers.
But but sacks isn't all. And if they finish 7th in sacks, they can still be just as good of a defense. I don't think the fact that they don't, because to me, their defensive line is too good for it to be the issue. Because that was honestly 2 years ago. That's why they lost to Cincinnati. It wasn't just that they didn't have a wide receiver. It's that they couldn't get to Joe Burrow. They were incapable of having a pass rush, and that incapability to get a pass rush was the reason they did not get past Cincinnati 2 years ago, right? Even more so than they were thrown to D-Rob. There were both problems. They were the 2 biggest problems. I feel like their defensive line is better equipped to handle that than it was before. I'd be less surprised if it was the offensive line we were having a conversation about.
We mentioned potentially bringing back Frank Clark or another veteran right before training camp. Mike Giannetti from Spot Track was actually on with CDOT yesterday and gave a little bit of insight of what a Frank Clark contract at this point, now that he's still unsigned, would look like with the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's a mystery to the rest of us why that name isn't even popping up nationally as an available free agent. So I think most of us just assume that there will be a reunion at some point. It's just a matter of maybe timing and making sure everything else is worked out first. But it made sense to move on when you did in March because you needed the available cap space. There was only $7.6 million of dead cap versus a $28 million cap hit. So that was the kind of savings you needed to head into the offseason. But since then, it's just been about what's going to be next for this player, and this is still a player that's giving you regular season sacks and certainly postseason production, which is the kind of player you need if you're a Kansas City Chiefs down the stretch. So have there been negotiations? Is he simply asking too much for a near 30-year-old who's got some injury history? Maybe. But, is this a Jadeveon Clowney type situation, Yannick Ngakoue, where this thing gets to the finish line and ends up being 1 for $8 million? We're in that time of year. So I'm going to give you one of those numbers and say that's probably where this ends up, right around the 1 for $8 million with plenty of sack incentives to go after that.
And that's why it's still in play at some point. I don't think the Chiefs are the favorite to land him or anything like that, but the longer it drags on, it increases. The closer we get to camp and nobody else has signed him, that dollar amount goes down. It becomes more incentive-laden.
I mean, I don't think people appreciate, remember we were talking last offseason, we just talked about, how many free agent running backs there are. There's how are any of these guys going to get paid, right? There's just too many. You are 32, 33-year-old, 1 year, previously productive sack guys. It is a flush market. Frank Clark is not the only one. Robert Quinn, Yannick Ngakoue, Jadeveon Clowney are all available. Justin Houston, Carlos Dunlap, Frank Clark, as we had mentioned, Jason Pierre-Paul. It doesn't if you want me to find you a guy who can get you 4 to 5 sacks, who's going to sign a 1-year deal at the defensive end spot and guarantee you some pass rush, I can give you a massive list of available players. That's why Frank Clark's number is going to be low. So why not just come back here? And look, I don't care about that they've already paid him part. It's too late. They couldn't get a deal worked out. He wanted to test his market. If he finds out his market isn't what it is and he comes back to Kansas City, then so what? Load
it up with incentives. He fits. Chris Jones wants him back. Although I did think it was interesting yesterday. I mentioned Mike Giannetti was on with CDOT from Spot Track. He doesn't think a Chris Jones deal gets done. That was one of the interesting things I thought. That Mike had to say to CDOT, that he does not believe a Chris Jones extension gets done, which would make a fascinating scenario heading into a final year of a contract for Chris Jones. And then he would either be a franchise tag candidate next year at a high number, or you'd be talking about him testing the market.
I mean, do we really think he's not?
Listen, you want to hear? Listen, this is what Mike said yesterday.
I don't think they get one done. I think if that would have happened, we would have heard a lot more about it. I know there's been some inkling and some whispering, and people like to do a lot of business, right before training camp, so I could be dead wrong there. But, look, a lot of things can happen. Nick Bosa can sign the big $30 million per year contract. Quinnen Williams can go $25 million on the interior of the line for the Jets. So the defensive money is about to kick up, probably where it belongs. It's kind of lacked for the past couple of seasons with Aaron Donald reset that market really a year and a half ago now. So I do think that the Donald contract is still a unicorn. I don't think that Chris Jones' money has to get quite there, but he's a $30 million player. He's a $30 million player from a analytical valuation standpoint, just using math in our system. So if that's the foundation, you could clearly negotiate that higher. So we're talking at least $60 million fully guaranteed at signing, which would be 2 years, and maybe $2.5 to $3 million practically guaranteed. So we're getting close to that $100 million practical guaranteed over 3 to 4 years for a defensive player, and certainly Chris Jones is a candidate to be earning that right now.
The beginning part, I don't know if I agree with. So, like, the back end, the money, like, that's going to be interesting. I don't think that the fact we haven't heard a whole lot recently is a big deal, because I think everybody
was reporting and said that they were waiting.
Quinn Williams, that's the key. I mean, Chris Jones has not signed anything until the Quinn Williams deal is done. Quinn Williams with the Jets, there was actually a report over the weekend that they're not far off. Quinn Williams and the Jets, not far off. Okay.
Once that number comes out, then
that deal gets signed tomorrow, then I would start to expect to hear a lot more. If Quinn Williams had already been signed for weeks, I'd be like, wow, that's kind of weird. But go back to Nate Taylor from The Athletic, who obviously is well connected in the Chiefs organization. He had always mentioned more like July. Mid-July, even.
How it went the last time.
So I don't know if I agree with the timing. What he said about the money, though, is going to be really interesting. $60+ million guaranteed. Like, I feel like that actually makes sense and what might be required to get it done.
What did they give Frank Clark the first time?
Also, as you know, like that was 4 years ago. The amount people are paying.
No, I know,
but
the
market's a little bit different.
They gave him. Yeah, they gave him a lot of money, guaranteed.
Sure.
62 total guarantee, 43 guaranteed at signing was the deal they gave Frank Clark. And again, you're gonna be like, well, it's in versus interior. Well, Chris Jones is essentially
Clark was
interior.
5 for 104, and that at the time, how old was Frank at that time? 24.
So 4 for 80 with 60 million guaranteed is something I can stomach. I don't see why this is a problem.
I don't think it's going to be 4 for 80 though. Like we get to the funny money at the end of it. So
60, you think it's going to be 4 for 100,
4 for 105? Yeah, 4 for 105. I think 62.5 to 65 million guaranteed, and that to me, I 4 for 80 would be a steal. Of course, I'd sign 4 for 80. That's a steal.
You have to pay someone eventually, right? Like, I mean, this is a very serious question. We've talked about this all the time, and it seems like we always talk about, like, the Patriots way and all this, but they did pay players sometimes. I get it. They let plenty go and more than enough leave. And the Chiefs have done that, too. They let their starting corner in Charvarius Ward walk. They let a future Hall of Fame wide receiver walk. They've let players go. It's not like they haven't done that. But New England didn't ever pay anyone but Brady.
To me,
they did pay other players.
The only way you can go into this season and not have an extension done is two things. A, you're rolling the dice on what his value is at the end of the season and potentially losing him. And I guess you could still franchise tag him. Or you're banking on, man, there's a huge leap coming from Karlaftis, and somehow Felix Anudike-Uzomah is going to surprise a lot of us and have a much bigger impact right away.
To me, that's your solution post this next Chris Jones contract. But just keep throwing.
But I'm just saying,
post the one after this one.
I'm with you, but if they go into this season and it's true they didn't get an extension done, that tells us that they better be banking on that, or they're just rolling the dice and saying, hey, we'll run this out, and if we find out that we're not ready there, then we're willing to pay whatever the dollar amount is going to be for another season on a franchise tag. But that's like, what, $23 million at least?
Yeah, and we just saw them not do that with Orlando Brown Jr. Even
though
we
Chris Jones is a more impactful player. But
yeah,
still.
But we thought for sure they were going to franchise tag someone to figure it out.
And this is why
I also think it'd be easier to trade Chris Jones than it was Orlando Brown Jr. There'd be more interest.
Well, that's the other thing. If you can't get an extension done, well, then that's a mistake in that regard. We're talking about the trade market as well. Like if you did start a season and you can't get an extension done, I know he has a final year of his contract, But then that's a mistake. That's something you should have explored before the draft and figured out your options. So, I think they're getting an extension done. Interesting that Mike Ginnetti said he doesn't think that happens. I think that would be a big mistake for all parties involved, by the way, if we're sitting here heading into that Thursday night opener and there's not an extension done.
Well, at that point, then I would probably be where Ginnetti is, in which I would be thinking that deal's not getting done. If he doesn't get signed by the beginning of the season, this was the same thing I said, Nick, I think it was yesterday, you said 1 year ago. Cody said, the Orlando Brown Jr. is not getting a deal done. If Chris Jones is on this team week 1 against the Lions, I don't think he's getting extended here. I think that deal has to be done before then.
Of course. Well, yeah, I didn't say that. I'm with you. I think everybody's on the same page there. I think it would be a setup if he hasn't got an extension, Cody, at the end of this next season, then they would tag him and trade him.
You would think so, but God, I thought that exact same thing about Orlando.
I know, but what if we said...
There's definitely be a better market for Chris Jones. There's no doubt.
Come on, Chris Jones just had 15.5 sacks, finished second.
The league it's not like Orlando Brown Jr., where like 3 teams in the NFL think he's a left tackle. Chris Jones, everyone thinks he's an all-pro interior defensive lineman. I get it, but
yeah, and Kelsey, Mahomes, and Chris Jones are the 3 players that I think they're willing to go top of market on. Those are the 3 exceptions to the rule of what they've shown us with their actions. They weren't willing to do with Tyreek Hill, weren't willing to do with Orlando Brown Jr. Chris Jones, I think,
feel like it should be different. So we'll see, I guess. Please. Speaking of Super Bowls and all the stuff that we talk about this, it's easy here in Kansas City to like have these conversations because again, we know that. We just very simply know that they are going to be Super Bowl favorites in any given year, and which means they're not going to have to make these excuses about going to Super Bowls because they've been there 3 times. I know we just talked about Cincinnati yesterday, but did you see that the excuse making continued? Tyler Boyd, the same player we talked about yesterday for having complained about.
He's talking a lot.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe it was the same. It
might have been the same interview, but I didn't happen to see this clip until later. He says that there was a reason why Cincinnati lost the AFC Championship game, and get ready for it. The reason why Cincinnati lost the AFC title game, according to Tyler Boyd, is Tyler Boyd got hurt. It was him. If he had played, problem solved. Meanwhile, Marcus Kemp was running routes for the Chiefs. They're out here like throwing balls to Jody Fortson in the 4th quarter of AFC title games. But yeah, sure. Your injury was the reason why they could do it. But did Sneed finish that game? Did he even finish the AFC title game?
He had a concussion or whatever it was,
okay,
right?
So he didn't.
I think that was correct.
So what's Tyler Boyd talking about? Could you make an argument that the Sneed injury is more impactful than Tyler Boyd?
No, you can't. No, you can't make that argument. I mean, Cody, and I can't believe you're just like moving past this, or I guess just ignoring it. I don't know if you're ignorant or you're just dumb, but.
Oh, there it is.
I mean, I didn't know.
There's another one.
Because Cody,
or
you're
just
talking about
dumb.
Oh, really? Because you're talking about Tyler Boyd, who had. I mean, dude, look at what he was doing in the playoffs. He had 1 catch for 23 yards versus Buffalo.
Whoa! Watch out!
Yeah, 3 catches for 26 in their win over the Ravens. So clearly an integral part of the offense.
That 1 more catch for 22 yards would have sealed it for Cincinnati in that AFC title game.
See, as you thought it was a diss, but really it was just a joke where I'm actually backing you up.
But yes, in the
quote, still to this day, I feel like if I played the whole game, I was the key factor.
Yeah,
we would have won the game.
I would
That's what
say,
he said.
I mean, basically, like, just if you're trying to even be nice, you would say, okay, Sneed and Boyd wash each other out. Then you still bring up what you did, which is Marcus Kemp was one of the receivers on the field. Had to be. I mean, I'm looking at the drive chart in the 4th quarter from that game. Like, there was one drive with about 13 minutes to go. Mahomes, pass complete to Sky Moore, pass complete to Pacheco, pass intended for McKinnon. Then there's a pass for MVS. Then they ended up, I believe, having a punt in that scenario. The next drive with the ball, pass to Kemp, Moore, Scantling, Pacheco, and McKinnon. I mean, that's who was running out there at that point in time.
But I mean, by that argument, Tyler Boyd is of quality of those types of receivers. So, maybe he's got a point, Nick. Maybe he's dead on track. I mean, the weird thing about Tyler Boyd, specifically him right now, let's maybe not limit it to all of Cincinnati is.
No, lump them all in. Lump all of Cincinnati.
You should be thinking more of yourself than this. But this is what happens when you play for a franchise, and there is a franchise that has no history of winning. They're losers. It's a losing franchise. They didn't make the postseason for like 20 years. They've never won a Super Bowl. They had a number 1 overall pick previously and a quarterback that everyone lauded as being one of the most talented quarterbacks ever coming out of college in Carson Palmer and couldn't make it work. Now they've got it again. They actually made a Super Bowl this time and came up short. So now the excuse makes me we would have gone again if it weren't for me, Tyler Boyd, myself getting hurt. He could have said so many other things that went, because that game, as you know, with every game in Cincinnati, has been very tight. It was tight again. There are little things that can make a difference, but I don't think his injury was the single biggest factor.
Higher up on the list might be the linebacker that shoved Mahomes out of bounds late. We'll put that a little bit higher on the list. That dumb mistake.
Yeah, if he just hadn't done that, they
personal
would have gotten
foul,
the ball back.
Personal foul. I mean, the Chiefs still could have won that game, but like that put the Chiefs in field goal range. We all know. Butker drills the field goal. Rest is history.
That one was funny, too, for a while, because Cincinnati fans were like, if it weren't for that, you wouldn't be doing this. I'm like, but that was a penalty. He did it.
Yeah.
He objectively did the thing you're talking about. It's like the holding penalty. It's like, that happened. You know how I know it? The defensive back who committed the holding in the Super Bowl said he did it. And I watched the video, and he did it. Both of those things actually happened. Not like what would have happened if maybe I played on the football field.
We do that as fans, though.
Things
all the
that
time,
actually
right?
did happen.
Yeah, if Coach would have put me in.
We do that kind of stuff as fans all the time. Because, I mean, even after the Chiefs beat the Bills in the 13-second drive, you still would have people in Buffalo be like, yeah, if it wasn't for the 13-second drive, oh, you mean like the most important sequence of the entire game?
Well, yeah, but if it wasn't for like you scoring a touchdown with Gabe Davis before they win, like let's not just eliminate things that actually happened.
For sure. For sure. I mean, look, we joke and talk about like, man, how many rings would Mahomes have if D Ford wasn't offsides and all that? But it happened. Like it happened. It did happen.
Yeah, it did. It
wasn't a bad call. He was offsides.
He was definitely offsides, quite clearly.
Did he? By the way, did he end up retiring? Like
he had medically retire.
Yeah,
pretty much.
he just never could bounce back.
It's a good trade by the Chiefs.
It was a very good trade, very very good trade. Thinking of good trades, did you see there was an article in Boston that there was literally it was like, where is Alberto Mondesi? Because of course he's on the Red Sox now, or at least within their organization.
Yeah, but he got hurt, right?
He got hurt, and there was some story on Mondesi recently. It was like, oh well, we've seen that one before, and it was just essentially wondering where he's been. It said, Red Sox, Alberto Mondesi had knee surgery 13 months ago. Where is he? That was literally the title of the article. Well, yeah.
Got some bad news.
I mean, a lot of it, if you read the quotes from Alex Cora, it's very similar to the same stuff we've always heard here. Like,
snake bit.
The media asked him where he appears to be in his recovery. Alex Cora, same thing, shrugged. When asked for progress, just down there taking grounders, still grinding through it. I mean, it's the same stuff we heard for how many years? This poor guy just can't stay.
I feel bad for Mondesi.
Stay healthy, man.
I want him to have a full big league season just once.
I don't know if that's ever going to happen, man.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of evidence, unfortunately. It just body fails you, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. How all of a sudden are you just going to magically get healthy?
That's Boston's problem now, though.
It is. Are there any currently injury-prone players we need to talk about for the Royals?
Don't think so.
They're just not talented enough.
Is
that the issue we're having?
Is that enough to care, you mean? Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. All right, coming up next, that's depressing. We'll get to what's trending. And,
I wish I could blame injuries. It's way easier.
Under 100 days now. It is under 100 days, I should say, from the start of the NFL season. A question for each of these teams in the AFC West. I think one really stands out. We'll tell you what it is next.
Cody and Gold.
A gentleman named George Bancroft, who is an American historian, statesman, prominent in the the entire 1800s.
Are we almost done with this conversation?
Brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. For asphalt, concrete, and parking lot maintenance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trusted in Kansas City since 1994. Online at GANNasphalt.com.
Hey guys, it's Nick. Summer is almost here, which means pool and beach season is right around the corner. If you wait for June or July to get here to try and start getting into better shape, you're not going to see the results you hope for this year. So why wait? If you don't know where to start, give 213 Flashpoint a try. It's not going to shred your love handles overnight, but it will give you a nice nudge in the right direction. 213 Flashpoint is a powdered supplement. I drink it every morning to start my day, and it gives me long-lasting energy without the crash. It also helps curb my appetite so I can ignore my sweet tooth and make it to my next meal. This isn't my first time time trying to get into better shape, but it's the first time I knew it was going to happen. And that's all thanks to the guys at Supplement Superstore. They introduced me to 213 Flashpoint, and they came up with a simple plan that fits into my daily routine. The best part is it's all free of charge. When you work with the guys at Supplement Superstore, you're not in it alone, and sometimes a little help is all it takes to finally stick to your fitness goals. If you want to make this summer different, try 213 Flashpoint. Check it out at any of the 8 Supplement Superstores locations in the KC metro area.
Hello, I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. I'm so proud that we've helped over 15,000 businesses claim over $5 billion in cash incentives. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to yourself to take another look. Every client is assigned a licensed and insured tax attorney who evaluates your company at my expense to accurately determine eligibility. Innovation Refunds has hundreds of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot and Google, and your business might be entitled to receive up to $26,000 per employee. Businesses of all types can qualify, including medical, professional, construction, even nonprofits. Please don't miss out on this. Even your doctor would tell you to get an expert second opinion, and we do a lot of work for doctors. Download the Innovation Refunds app now or go to getrefunds.com to potentially get a payroll tax refund of $26,000 per employee. GetRefunds.com. GetRefunds.com.
Lowe's knows the value of quality paint for pros. That's why starting on June 5th, Pro Paint Days are coming to Lowe's. Shop special savings on the products you need for all your paint jobs. Plus, MVP's members can take advantage of an additional limited-time-only paint offer when you shop Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams. Join the Pro MVP's Rewards program today. Offers valid 6/5 to 6/16. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. See Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty Terms. Subject to change.
The Dell Technologies Summer Sale event is on with limited quantity deals on top tech. Save on select PCs powered by the latest Intel Core processors like Thin and Light XPS 13 laptops, Inspiron laptops, and 2-in-1s. Plus, get savings on select accessories, free shipping, and monthly payment options with Dell Preferred Account. It's the perfect season to power your passions during Dell's Summer Sale event. Save today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. Offered to U.S. residents by WebBank, who determines qualifications for and terms of credit.
Spring is in the air, and that means one thing. Dandelions are coming. Don't let those annoying yellow weeds invade your lawn again. This year, trust your lawn to Ryan Lawn & Tree. This is Larry Ryan. No other lawn care company delivers the results that Ryan Lawn & Tree delivers. More than just providing a beautiful dandelion-free lawn. Your trusted pros in the clean red trucks make sure your entire landscape is healthy, strong, and ready to look great no matter what nature throws at it. And unlike the other guys, the pros at Ryan Lawn & Tree are employee owners, full-time professionals going above and beyond every day with 5-star customer service. Call us or click ryanlawn.com today. And as a new customer, you'll save 50% on your first lawn application. Enjoy a worry-free, effort-free, dandelion-free lawn this year with Ryan Lawn & Tree.
I've been buying wholesale cars for 27 years, and every year, the way I know the market has peaked is my Bradford pear tree blooms. This morning I looked, and it is bloomed. The market is peaking. If you want to sell your car, this is the highest time of the year to do it right now. Just beat a guy today. A CarMax offer $3,000. They offered him $75 on his Corvette. I gave him $78. Why? Because the tree told me to. GiveMeTheVin.com.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
It's your last chance to shop Memorial Day savings at Lowe's. Now's the time to make your home beautiful with savings on all your spring essentials. Keep cool in style with the Harbor Breeze Summersville ceiling fan. Was $189.98, now just $169.98. And clean up your yard with Craftsman. Buy a V20 string trimmer or leaf blower for just $99 and get a select Bear tool free. Lowe's knows lawn care. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 6/7. Selection varies by location while supplies last.
Staples has everything you need to help run your small business. Shipping supplies and services to help move orders out the door. Print and marketing services so you can print signs, banners, and presentations fast. And now during Staples Small Business Deal Days, you save 50% when you buy any combination of 5 or more boxes, mailers, and shipping tubes. Plus, find new deals for small business in-store every week. Keep your business running right and safe at Staples. Offer valid in-store, online order pickup, and Instacart. Exclusions apply. Not valid in Concord, New Hampshire location. Prices may vary. N71. one.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Max Motors Studios. Miss anything while you were at work? Every show is available on demand at 610sports.com and the Odyssey app. 610 Sports Radio. KCSP Kansas City. WDAF HD2 Liberty. Always live on the free Odyssey app. What's trending?
All right, let's check in on the hot topics trending.
Tonight, game one of the NBA Finals gets underway, of course, between the Nuggets and the Miami Heat. Denver, 9-point favorites in game one tonight. Heavy favorites to win the series. No surprise there. The Nuggets, of course, have been, I would say, cruising at times on their way through. Of course, we know Miami had to go to a Game 7 after being up 3 games to none on the Boston Celtics. Also, thinking of the Celtics, some news out today. Brad Stevens says Joe Mazzulla will be back as the Celtics head coach next season. There was a lot of rumbling, certainly when they were down 3-0, that he could lose his job, looked overmatched against Eric Spoelstra, but I think, it's 1 year. But it puts a lot of pressure on him for next year, right?
You get yourself fired if you come up short again.
Yeah, you can say, hey, first-year head coach, hopefully he learns from some of the mistakes he made. Yeah, but next year is a whole different thought process.
I would say so. Next up on What's Trending, Zach Edney. That was big news in college basketball yesterday. We talked about the number 2 recruit choosing the G League. Well, one of college basketball's best players, Zach Edney, will forego the NBA draft and instead return to Purdue for his senior season. He obviously very successful player there at Purdue. I'm surprised he didn't have, more NBA interest, because you would assume that if he's coming back to college that they told him to go shoot more threes or whatever the hell they tell you at the NBA Combine. But I'm surprised. I thought for sure he was going to be one of the players who ended up staying in the draft. Instead, he'll come back and, make them a top 10 team again, probably preseason next year.
Probably top 10, and then second-round exit or first-round exit, probably. Matt Painter, yep, probably. Sounds about right.
You think so?
Yeah, they'll be number 1 at some point next year maybe, but then they'll have an early exit. That sounds about right for Purdue.
It was a tough year for you to talk about that, with Kansas semi-early exit.
You mean the national championship they won just a year ago?
I said this year.
You mean, look at Matt Painter's history at Purdue. Great regular season, coach. Really good. Next up on What's Trending. Thinking of college hoops, this is pretty cool. So USC is going to face K-State out in Las Vegas on November 6th. That, according to John Rothstein.
That didn't seem like a big deal, but
the USC and K-State matchup will be the first ever college game for freshman Bronny James. So that's kind of cool. We'll have
right here on 610 Sports Radio.
Have Bronny James' debut on 610.
Nick, official stat line prediction for Bronny James at USC.
In
Points,
game 1?
Rebounds, assists. No, for the season.
Oh.
I want that right now.
Wow.
I want your June 1st stat line prediction for Bronny James in college hoops this year.
I'm going to go with 12 points.
Oh, good season.
12 points, 4.5 assists, 2.5 rebounds.
Sounds like you're predicting a pretty good season for Bronny James as a freshman.
I think that's a fair
guess.
That's
a good number. I mean, that makes it certainly more interesting for that matchup just in general. November college basketball, I'll be honest, doesn't draw that many eyeballs in my household. But if you're telling me that it's the debut of Bronny James and they're playing one of the locals in K-State, I'm interested.
Yeah, that game will be out in Las Vegas.
Let's all go.
Sure.
We're just talking about going to Vegas this show. Let's go.
Anytime Vegas comes up, we're like, let's go.
It happens quite a bit. Conversation.
So do you want to go or not?
We should go to whenever it happens, we should go to the groundbreaking of the new A's stadium.
So in 2028?
Yes.
I'll meet you there.
Put it on the calendar.
I'll meet you there, yeah. I'll meet you there for that one.
The 3 of us being there in 2028. Pencil it in.
By then, they'll probably have an NBA team as well. Not in Vegas, don't you think?
Probably. Probably faster than KC will.
Well, yes. I can guarantee that.
It's depressing. I want either NHL or NBA, and I feel like sometimes it's never going to happen.
But before we can even talk NBA, Las Vegas has to get situated.
When you're alive, will Kansas City have a NHL or NBA team in your lifetime?
Yes. But I think the answer is NHL, not NBA. But yeah, I would like to think that gives me, a 45 to 50 year runway, hopefully at least. So yes, I think at some point in the next 50 years, we will have an NHL team. Or an NBA team.
Really doing it.
Yeah.
Lastly on What's Trending, don't forget, coming up on June 20th, the Cody and Gold garage sale will be taking place right here on 610 Sports Radio, over at 610sports.com, and of course on our Twitter at 610sportskc. We will post the links where you can bid. You can bid directly through the site. You can click the links that we post on Twitter and go bid there. But we're going to give you an online bidding option this year. Look, this is because of you. People have said it's a little hard, the previous system we were doing it. So we're going to make it all-inclusive and all available to you. We got a ton of great items again this year. I've told you I've got a 6-foot-tall Creed Humphrey cardboard cutout in my garage, or Big 8 basketball. So some of the normal items you would come to expect from the Cody and Gold Garage Show, but a ton of new experiences and old experiences as well. One of the old ones, Pete and I will be at Kelly's. You can do happy hour with us again. Guys are going to be involved, so there'll be some food. But we have new experiences coming as well. Do you want to announce it now?
We can do one of them, yeah.
Get the breaking news sounder ready, Nick.
No, we don't have to breaking news sounder, but excited we do know another experience we'll have available on June 20th. A stay-and-play experience up at Prairie Band Casino and Resort north of Topeka, part of the Prairie Band Sportsbook they're going to be launching, and Firekeeper Golf Course. So an opportunity for a hotel room, 2 rounds of golf, 2 buffet tickets, and 2 reserve lounge seats up in the sportsbook. And you can gamble with me on a Sunday when the Chiefs are on the road. We'll be up there. So that'll be one of the experiences. Really excited to work with those guys.
So it's going to be with you. You're going to be sitting in a sportsbook placing wagers with a couple of listeners.
And then they can get up there the day before, stay in a hotel as well, do some golf up at a great course. Firekeeper is a fantastic course. And so,
have you played it?
I actually have. I used to do shows up there, as a matter of fact, when I worked in Topeka.
Course record?
Oh, yeah.
Course record?
Yeah, well, yes.
He shot a 57.
Yes.
It was incredible.
Record for lost golf balls. Yes.
That's not an easy course, right?
No, that's a lofty. I mean, I've lost a lot of balls out there.
Nick's neck of the woods.
Right down the street from my parents' house.
Does it rank in your top 5 golf courses you've ever played, Nick? That's what the people want to know.
Oh, gosh. Gonna put me on the spot. I don't know. I would say in the area, including Kansas City, I mean, it's up there. It is a pristine golf course.
They do a great job up there. So excited for that.
You're going to be at the hotel. You're going to gamble with them on a Sunday. Are you going to golf with them?
No.
so they can golf.
Can I golf with them? And they can stay the night at my parents' house.
Ooh, I like that
They
idea.
don't need to stay the night at your parents' house. They have
Maybe
a
they
hotel
prefer
room.
it.
But maybe they prefer like the B&B situation.
Well, I think they'll prefer the nice hotel.
Would your parents give them a home-cooked meal, you know?
I don't know. Probably not.
They got the meal covered as well.
That's not up there.
We get sleeping bags. We can sleep in my childhood bedroom. Come on.
Ooh. Is it still decorated like it's your childhood bedroom? They turned it into like a gym.
No, it's like a spare bedroom now.
That is what's trending. So, yeah, that's one of the new experiences excited about. Again, we'll continue to unveil more experiences leading up to June 20th for the 3rd annual Cody and Gold Garage Sale benefiting the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. So, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to have that experience available this year. We wanted to do something like that last year, and it came together this go-around.
So you have actually, in a way, you are directly competing with Nick for the better golf experience, because Nick last year had golf with the producer.
Yeah, but mine's it's not competing, first of all. It's for charity. You may view it as competition, Cody. But Nick and I don't. It's the brand new sportsbook they're launching. That's the whole idea behind it, too. So appreciate the folks
Who
up at Prairie Band.
Who will their sportsbook be through?
It is,
their own?
And all the details aren't announced. But it's their sportsbook.
Gold knows it, and he's not going to tell us. He's not going to give us a scoop.
Well, yeah,
He knows the answer.
That's exactly
and he's
correct.
not going to tell us.
It's not announced.
You're not allowed to, or it would just be bad business?
Was it embargoed?
More details are not public knowledge yet. That's all.
But was it embargoed information? Or did they make a mistake of telling the wrong person?
They are launching a Prairie Band Sportsbook. I just told you who's donating the items.
Okay.
It's a nice hotel. I've stayed there as well for a wedding. It's very nice.
Someone is interested, though, in the sleeping bags and the frosted flakes. Maybe we could just get one more round of golf. Somebody else could go golfing with Gold and stay at your parents' house.
If the breakfast situation won't be anything like whenever I happen to stay at my parents' house, I wake up, what do you guys have for breakfast? Coffee?
How often do you stay at your parents' house?
Like Christmas, things like that.
You still stay at your parents' house for Christmas? I haven't stayed with my parents since I was a kid. 18.
I don't know.
17.
I have a great relationship with my family, so.
I think that's really good, Nick.
Thank you.
So you're rubbing it in my face. You're saying I have a bad relationship with my family is what I'm
No,
doing.
you wanted to pry.
That's what you were saying.
You were prying, and I think you were on the verge of making fun of me for staying at my parents' house, which is a very common thing to do when your parents don't live in the same town as you.
I don't live that far away. It's 2 hours. You're making it sound like they live in Detroit.
Okay, but maybe I want to spend quality time with my family, so I go there on Christmas Eve, hang out.
About 4 hours driving.
Okay.
But you feel stupid now, don't you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you should, though.
I still think it's weird.
Yeah, but you should. It's weird?
Man, we got off to such a great start.
When's the last
first
time
hour.
you stayed with your parents? Well, you lived with them. Damn it, this is no good. You lived with them for 6 months.
Wait a minute, you think it's weird? Can we just, how is it weird?
I think it'd be less weird if you were coming from actual out of town.
Well, no,
I think you actually stay at your parents more when you just like have too many and then just pass out on the couch.
When I lived in Houston or out in Boise and I would come home for the holidays, you think I got a hotel for a week? No, I stayed at my parents' house, of course.
I think it's different when you're traveling via plane.
No, you're dumb.
Because for one of those, Cody, by the way.
This is the dumbest argument I've ever heard. So if it's the holidays and I have 3 days off and we have Christmas Eve off and I have nothing else to do, why would I sit in my apartment by myself when I could go be with my family for an extra night and spend time with them and hang out and have dinner and have drinks and then go to sleep and then wake up and do the family Christmas? That is not weird.
I don't think. Cody,
you're saying I'm the weird one.
I think what you're suggesting is weird is not weird at all.
They're not tucking me in at night.
So far, the text line, 2 people said it's not weird too, and then a third person asked if you kiss your mom and dad on the mouth.
Oh, gosh.
Now, it says, Steve, do you think Nick's dad
Steve,
and his mouth?
You're Steve. Remember yesterday? You're Steve now after the guy called you Steve.
I kind of forgot about that. I was hoping that would die, I guess.
Yeah, man, no need to stay in a hotel. It's your family. When your kids get old enough, Cody, when Ruby and Desmond are old enough and they come for the holidays, you're not going to allow them to stay at your house for a weekend if they need to.
Yeah,
for the
next time I go home.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, the next time I go home on Christmas Eve, it'll be 10 o'clock and I'll say, I'm leaving. I'll see you guys in the morning. And they'll say, really? I'll say, no, I'm sorry. Cody thinks it's weird for me to stay here, so I'm just going to drive home, wake up early, and then drive back tomorrow.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
I also think that as age goes on and there's other things going on, more often than not, people develop I'm either going to see you on Christmas Eve or I'm going to see you on Christmas Day. I don't have time to be seeing you on both.
Oh, yeah, because of all my other Christmas Eve plans.
That's not that weird.
The only time that happens, Nick, I would say probably is if you've got in-laws, right? And you're saying, hey, we're going to split it up. Like that, what you're saying, I think happens more if there's in-laws, right? Hey, you got
or kids. Then you have your own separate Christmas thing with your children.
Right, but you can probably do that later in the day, like that particular day. I'm guessing if you have in-laws, hey, maybe you're going to go to one of her parents, let's say, on Christmas Eve, and then the Christmas Day you do with his parents or whatever, right? Whatever it may
just
be.
Give up, Cody. You're making yourself look bad.
You're like taking this anti-family stance.
Spend time with family, man.
You drinking. Someone just said most people don't like to drink and drive. Cody is just a bad dude, I guess.
I mean, if this were a political campaign, it would be the worst campaign ever. Anti-family. Spend less time with your family in 2024.
Not what I mean.
I'm Cody Tapp, and I approve this message.
Yeah, spending time with your family, too much of it, as a matter of fact, according to Cody.
Let's get back to isolation.
Yeah. Okay. Apparently, I'm the only person.
I mean, unanimously.
The text line is
against you.
It's been a while.
One person.
Cody, it's been a while since any one person.
I had to take that. Not a single person will defend me.
Yeah, it's been a bit since any one of us have had something where the entire text line is against anybody. And this is...
Hold on, wait. One texter. Family is overrated.
There you go. You got your win.
Is that it? Is that the only person who agrees with me right now?
I think so. I really think so.
Someone said all of their siblings are out of the house and they still go back to their parents to wake up there on Christmas morning. Never. The second I moved out, I went to my house for Christmas Eve, and then I just went back on Christmas
if your
morning.
parents live 15 minutes from you, I'm not saying to drive up the night before.
Like, have you considered? Are you going to stay with your parents for Hanukkah or Christmas this year?
No, because I live 5 minutes from their house or 10 minutes from their house. To Nick's point, if they lived 90
What's the driving distance?
I think 90,
an hour and a half.
I think 90 or above.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if they live within 30 minutes or something, of course not. You don't need to do that. But once you get a little bit further and around Christmas time, maybe the weather's bad. There's a lot of factors here, man.
Well, come on, we can't talk about weather. Weather, I wasn't even...
All of it.
That wasn't part of this conversation.
But all the way around. Anyway, take the L and move on. Take the L.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. The text line is clearly against me. Taking this to Twitter will only further bury me, so probably better that I just let us loose on air.
We are under 100 days now till the start of the NFL season. The Chiefs will kick that off against the Lions on the Thursday night at Arrowhead. And I want to look at the AFC West a little bit because we know that the Chiefs' questions have been asked over and over. We'll continue to discuss the question marks with this football team. What about the rest of the AFC West, and how about the contenders as well? We talked about the Raiders and the Chargers and the Broncos. But going through each contender, what's the biggest question remaining for each of them? Because, like in the AFC West, I think it's obvious, right? The Broncos, well, can Sean Payton get the most out of Russell Wilson? You know, can the Chargers, Kellen Moore as their new OC, get more out of Justin Herbert? You said defensively you thought
they have to take a leap defensively if they want to be an actual contender, not just finish 10-7 again.
So that's the AFC West. But let's look at the contenders, starting with the Baltimore Ravens, for example. What's the biggest question remaining for them? I think it's very fair. Is Lamar Jackson playing
17 games.
90% of the games this year? Yeah, or all the games this year.
With quarterback, it's not 90%. Yeah. Any other position, fine. With quarterback, it's are you going to be available for every single NFL game we play this year?
He's played in 12. That's what he's been playing in, is 12 games.
Over the last 2 years? Yeah. And I think that, I also wonder if their collection of random assorted pick-and-play offensive talent works. I think if you're just saying, all right, guarantee me Lamar plays, then my next question, Gold, would be, hey, you've assembled some talent on paper, but it's all random. It's a rookie first-round wide receiver. It's an overpaid Odell Beckham. It's the other guys you had in the system. Is this enough to actually surround him with talent?
They have a new OC as well.
Yeah, there's just, their biggest question marks are just, how is this all going to work offensively? Is Lamar still the same guy? Can he stay healthy if he is the same guy? And can the new collection of talent you have around Lamar get it together by the time the end of the season clicks so that you can compete? Because if you can't run a top 5 offense or a top 10 offense in the AFC, we're not even entertaining you in the AFC playoffs. You got to be like the Bills, the Bengals, the Chiefs. You got to be a top offensive squad in the AFC to hang.
I think if we agree or disagree on the contenders, the Bills, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Dolphins, the Jets, 2 of these teams, the question is about the health of the quarterback, plain and simple. We just mentioned, is Lamar Jackson going to play?
Tua that is the single biggest by a mile.
Absolutely, with the Dolphins. That is it. Tua, can you avoid, it sounds weird, can you avoid the concussions? And can you put yourself in a better spot? Can they protect him more than they did? Can he make sure he doesn't jeopardize his career, let alone long-term health risk as well? Can he make it through an entire season? Not only for this year, but to the point where it keeps his career alive. I mean, that's where we're at for the Dolphins. Yeah, that's an easy one, plain and simple.
I would think that, okay, so we're good with 2. Let's talk about Cincinnati for a minute. A team that we view as mostly being very complete. A similar to way maybe we would view Kansas City, which is why it's the same thing that it is for most teams. It's sacks. Are they a good enough team that they can get consistent pressure on teams? Because they can play offense. Not worried about Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. They can play. They can run the ball. They've gotten better on the offensive line. There's probably still some questions there. But to me, it's these other teams, Buffalo and Kansas City, the ones who have had either close to the amount of success they had. Buffalo's had close. They've come up a game shorter than Cincinnati. But they've won their division. They've won it consistently. But can they get consistent pressure is something I just don't feel like I know about Cincinnati yet. And until they can prove that, that could be the thorn in their side come playoff times. Although I put them in the Kansas City era. I don't worry about them winning their division. I don't worry about them getting deep in the postseason, at least the divisional round. It's just is this the thing that's going to stop you from being the thing you
can call me biased, but I think I'm way more concerned about them winning their division than Kansas City winning the West. I think Cincinnati is going to be more challenged by Baltimore than the Chiefs will at times, or just as much as the Chargers. I do think Baltimore will.
Chiefs have the second easiest division in the AFC to win this year.
Just this last year, let's not kid ourselves. Even with Lamar out, the Ravens were not far off from sneaking that division into their back pocket.
It came down in the final week.
I mean, it wasn't over. And obviously, we know Buffalo's dealing with a very tough division. I would say for Cincy, my answer, honestly, it's on the other side. It's the O-line. Let's not forget about that. As much as they didn't get pressure, the Chiefs destroyed that offensive line. They had a bunch of injuries this past year in the AFC title game. They add Orlando Brown Jr. I want to see how much of an upgrade, if it is at all, the Orlando Brown Jr. signing for what they were dealing with there in Cincinnati. Let's go over to the AFC East, though. I mentioned Buffalo. Biggest question there, man, is at this point in time, can they show that they aren't regressing? That's why,
is regression coming?
You're right.
Yeah.
Because I'm a little concerned.
It's weird. I didn't know if you were going to answer it exactly that way, but that's exactly what it is.
Because we saw Von Miller, first 6 weeks, incredible last year for the Bills. You're like, wow, this is why they brought him in. Close out games. He closed out the game at Arrowhead against the Chiefs. We're like, this is exactly why they brought him in. We're like, oh boy, got hurt. They were never the same on defense. Josh Allen had the red zone thing going on with Turnover City. And then got better at the end of the year, but he had that. And
also, that's been a career plague. So nobody has more interceptions late in the game, more turnovers late in the game than Josh Allen over the last 3 years.
Do they regress? Do they get passed by another team or two? In their own division, maybe.
I don't think that's going to happen, but I understand the fear. I think a lot of it for me is, this goes back to the thing we've talked about with defense. The reason why I think regression is possible for them is They have had a top 3 scoring defense for 3 consecutive years, Gold. It doesn't usually last 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And you haven't even been able to capitalize on it. You take even a slight regression on that. And now they're asking Josh Allen to run less, according to off-season reports. I'm not so sure. I do wonder about his health as well. He's been healthy, but, we just know that he's taking a beating, so it's hard to know. But it's just like, I think that the regression part is real. To me, it's probably defensively that I worry more about it. But they're offensive players. They've had them together for multiple years. Gabe Davis has taken small steps forward, but he hasn't emerged as a 1,000-yard receiver. Stephon Diggs is still very good. Their offensive line's fine. Like, they don't have major problems, but they've yet to get over the hump. So I just don't understand. For the Jets, it is, like, it's whether or not you can put together Aaron Rodgers and immediately become, my question for them is, are you a top 5 offense in the AFC right now? Like, are you that? You have the quarterback, you have wide receiver talent, you have running back talent, you have the offensive coordinator you loved in Green Bay. There's no reason why you shouldn't be. But the same thing that I was just talking about the defense. If you aren't, I don't want to entertain you. I'm not going to have this conversation around the Jets if they're not going to be a top 5 AFC offense. I'm not even saying in the league.
Yeah, so I'm not worried about Rodgers as much as other people are. For me, just are they ready as an organization, a coaching staff for prime time? You got all this attention, all these expectations.
Every big game.
Joe Douglas, the GM, gave you, Robert Saleh, the head coach, everything. This is it. There's no excuses. Let's find out. Are you able to elevate while the roster is also elevated? And is Robert Saleh ready to coach a football team that doesn't have a quarterback excuse anymore? Anything like that? Playoffs, absolutely where they have to be when you go out and make the moves they made. Bare minimum. Have to. They don't have to go to a Super Bowl. That's crazy for any team to expect that and say it's a failure if you don't get there. Like it's in the whole failure or disappointing conversation. But they got to get to the playoffs. To me, they got to win a playoff game as well. But at minimum, have to make the playoffs in the first year of Aaron Rodgers because you might only have 1 or 2 years. I think they'll get 2 years out of Rodgers. I think he'll be there for 2. So, okay, if you say, all right, they went to a playoffs this year and they won 1 playoff game, got bounced in the divisional round. All right, well, the next year, then it's obviously in his final year with Aaron Rodgers, it's Super Bowl or bust at that point in time. Not Super Bowl or bust this year. We had Vinny Pasquantino on, actually, big Jets fan we know. He's like, I was like, is it Super Bowl or bust? He goes, no, just make the playoffs.
Get to the playoffs.
Make the playoffs.
It's not, though. When you have a 40-year-old quarterback, it's not. It's Super Bowl or bust. You signed and traded for a 40-year-old quarterback. It's not like, I hope we just get a little better this year. No.
I think they
got a 4-year-old quarterback. The only option is win the Super Bowl or fail.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's Aaron Rodgers in his mind. I think as an organization, if they know deep down they get 2 years with Rodgers, it would not be a failure to me if they made the playoffs, won a playoff game, got bounced in the divisional round, if they believe they get 2 years out of Rodgers.
I'm going to be honest, guys. I thought there was going to be at least one person on the text line that agreed with me. Nope. And instead, it's just listening to Cody makes me have doubts on the integrity of humanity. I like to think of myself as a nice person.
I tend to agree. Yeah, but, like, you can be a nice person, but if you hate family.
That's not what I said. I didn't say I hate family. We just don't, none of us stay at my parents' house.
We've talked about this, though. Like, you're in general, like, you've always approached this kind of stuff a little bit differently because you and I have discussed like when there's birthdays and stuff, we always do like family dinners and things like that on birthdays, and you don't do, and that's fine. I'm not judging.
But I don't think it's weird that people do family dinners. I assume that that's pretty common.
But I think that explains your answer about the holidays as well. Like you just you approach it differently when it comes to family. Some would say,
I feel like you're trying to say I'm bad at family.
I didn't say that.
I think that's what you're both trying to say.
I didn't say that.
Didn't say you're bad at it. Just say, Cody. Sometimes the prism through which you view the world is not how everybody views the world. And this is, I think, a perfect example of that.
Why don't you start looking through my prism occasionally?
I do. I try to look through everyone's prism.
Oh, okay. You do, huh?
Mm-hmm. I'm a very empathetic person.
Okay. I mean, if that's what you say, who am I to deny that, for you?
Thank you.
Thank you for being empathetic.
Shout out to families everywhere.
I just know there's other people. There's at least one more person like me.
Yeah, but if there is, then I'm sad for them. Just the way I'm sad for you.
Why are you sad for me?
I want you to have a better relationship with family.
I have a perfectly fine relationship with family.
You don't want to be with them.
That's not what I said. I just said I don't want to spend the night with them. I don't want to have a sleepover at my parents. I'm 38.
I didn't
even know they're going to
jackass.
They're going to make me snacks and bring them downstairs.
Stop making it sound like it's something it's
They're
not.
not tucking me in at night.
They're singing, reading a little story.
Yeah, bring me some warm milk to put me to sleep.
Nick, it's Goodnight Moon before on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
They tell them a little story.
No, it's like, hey, why don't you stay the night? We'll have dinner, and then the next
Breakfast in the
morning,
morning,
be here.
and you already be ready to go.
There is no breakfast in the morning. Nick already said it's coffee.
It's coffee and maybe a bagel.
That's
Maybe a
fine.
bagel.
That still
There's
counts.
bagels
That
around.
still counts. Anyway, coming up next, I promise you this is new audio. It's not something from 5 or 7 years ago, and it has to do with the AFC. That's next.
Cody and Gold.
The facts on this show are irrelevant.
Brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. For asphalt, concrete, and parking lot maintenance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trusted in Kansas City since 1994. Online at GANNasphalt.com.
Kids playing in a lawn sprinkler. That's fun. Fire sprinklers. That's serious business. You seldom think about the fire sprinkler system in your commercial building, but Keller Fire and Safety thinks about sprinklers every workday, inspecting, testing, maintaining, repairing, ensuring that they'll work properly to protect people and property in case of a fire. Call Keller.
Keeping the fire marshal happy
Since 1950.
Keller Fire and Safety.
KellerFire.com.
A juicy steak sizzling on the fire. Firecracker corn hot off the grill. Nothing brings people together like backyard barbecue. It's time for Hy-Vee's Great American Grilling Sale. Seasoned chicken leg quarters, 99 cents a pound. Ball tip steaks, 2 for $10. Specialty broths, just 10 for $10. And juicy 8-ounce strip steaks, only $6.99 each. Save a bundle on a quarter or whole side of beef. Round up big savings at the Great American Grilling Sale this Friday through Sunday at your Kansas City area Hy-Vee.
Hey, it's Clang. 'Tis the season. You should be out there throwing anything you can down on that flat top grill or smoker, and my friends at Hy-Vee can help out. With huge savings on boneless pork loin, American cut, and butterfly pork chops, the 8-ouncers, 8-ounce choice reserve strip steaks, and more this Friday through Sunday at the Great American Grilling Sale. And don't forget to pick up those sides at Hy-Vee, including firecracker corn, coleslaw, cheesy potatoes, homestyle beans, good grief. Friday through Sunday only at Hy-Vee.
Hey, this is Rex with KC Real Estate Buyers, and I buy houses for cash. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, grab a pencil. I'm going to give you a very important phone number in 40 seconds. I'm a private real estate investor. I live right here in KC, and I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at KC Real Estate Buyers, we are improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind-in-payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000. Or go to rexbuyskc.com. That's rexbuyskc.com. And I look forward to working with you.
Outdoor America with Tommy Bench, Saturday mornings on 610 Sports Radio at 5 a.m. and the Odyssey app. This week, Tommy answers your questions. Outdoor America, presented by Wholesale Batteries, the right battery the first time.
Lowe's knows the value of quality paint for pros. That's why starting on June 5th, Pro Paint Days are coming to Lowe's. Shop special savings on the products you need for all your paint jobs. Plus, MVP's members can take advantage of an additional limited-time-only paint offer when you shop Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams. Join the Pro MVP's Rewards program today. Offers valid 6/5 to 6/16. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. See Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty Terms. Subject to change.
The Dell Technologies Summer Sale event is on with limited quantity deals on top tech. Save on select PCs powered by the latest Intel Core processors like Thin and Light XPS 13 laptops, Inspiron laptops, and 2-in-1s. Plus, get savings on select accessories, free shipping, and monthly payment options with Dell Preferred Account. It's the perfect season to power your passions during Dell's Summer Sale event. Save today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. Offered to U.S. residents by WebBank, who determines qualifications for and terms of credit.
Come see a world-famous Budweiser Clydesdale tomorrow at Side Pockets in Lee Summit from 4 till 6 p.m. and this Saturday at Chicken and Pickle in Overland Park from 3 to 5 p.m. Come see a Budweiser Clydesdale and enjoy the limited edition Folds of Honor Budweiser and Bud Light bottles.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way, offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, you know what I don't get? Why is that company always telling you to just do what? What is it? To just look like everybody else? Or maybe just pay way too much for your shoes? Well, at Skechers, we know what we want you to do. Just slip in. That's right, just slip in to new hands-free Skechers slip-ins. Why? Because slip-ins are the easiest, most comfortable shoes ever. You don't have to bend down to put them on. You don't even have to touch them. Find slip-ins for the whole family at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
When you open your hopper, you don't fill it with just any hardwood pellets, right? You fill it with Kingsford 100% hardwood blend pellets. Made right here in the USA with North American ingredients and a 100% natural hardwood blend, Kingsford pellets can be used on any pellet grill and add delicious smoky flavor to any meal. Kingsford's the name you trust for the low and slow cooking you crave. So look for Kingsford 100% hardwood blend pellets. Kingsford.com.
Lowe's knows the value of quality paint for pros. That's why starting on June 5th, Pro Paint Days are coming to Lowe's. Shop special savings on the products you need for all your paint jobs. Plus, MVP's members can take advantage of an additional limited-time-only paint offer when you shop Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams. Join the Pro MVP's Rewards Program today. Offers valid 6/5 to 6/16. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. See Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty Terms. Subject to change.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Chiefs coverage on 610 Sports Radio is brought to you by Comfort Systems Heating and Cooling in Belton.
Avoid being known as the hot house this summer with no payments, no interest for 6 months and up to $1,375 in rebates on a new Linux system. Comfort Systems, the hot house remedy. MyComfortSystems.com.
Comfort keeps us what we do. Comfort System is right for you.
Back here on Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Nick Schwartz with you. Reminder to say Snitch Line Thursday in the 1 o'clock hour today, 913-586-7610.
Snitch on your family. You know, in honor of our conversation.
Something you've done with your family.
Give some family dirt.
Yeah, this is a good time after our conversation. So we'll do that around 1:10, 1:15 or so today. But you can start sending some of those in. And we need a text line cleanse. There's way too much hate towards you right now. Cleanse it. We need to cleanse this text line out a little bit.
Just said the text line will say it. You are bad at family and seem to have a strange family dynamic.
Bad at family.
Cody, bad at family, according to the text line. At family.
I disagree. You know, maybe we just all have, like you said, Nick, different dynamics.
Definitely.
My family's dynamic. Well, Gold did. My family's dynamic's different than
I said that.
Alex's family dynamic.
Yeah. I think that's fair to say.
How often do you get together with your family? What's the ratio?
It depends.
Once a week?
Sometimes it just depends. Like we had somebody's birthday in the last week or two, and so we did.
Let's say an average month. 4 times, 6 times, 2 times.
What's the sound? What's the clip of the guy on trial? And they're like, and he goes more.
Oh yeah,
more. Michael Cohen. Yeah. He's like, more.
Probably.
Yeah. I felt like that's what I was about to do there. Thank you, Nick.
More than 2? More than 4?
That's probably about right. Maybe more. Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. That's all.
All right. I promise you this is not old audio. You know, we play audio cuts. We play drops. Sometimes they're months old. Sometimes they're years old. I can promise you this is something that just happened in the last 24 hours. And I'll understand why you guys might be confused. If I just played you this cut with no background knowledge, you may think it was old. But it involves Dan Orlovsky over at ESPN talking about the AFC West, talking about the Chargers. Listen to what he had to say and tell me you haven't heard this year after year after a year.
Can they catch up to the Chiefs this year?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. They are talented enough and well coached enough. First of all, they've beaten Kansas City, I think, 2 out of the last 4 meetings.
It was
last
tough.
year. They should have beat them. Remember, that's the game Justin got banged
shattered
up
his
in the ribs, and it was like the 100-yard pick return because the tight end was really tired.
Fast, yeah.
And to Coach's point, last year this football team lost their left tackle, 2 of their starting wide receivers. Their quarterback played with basically no ribs. Their premier edge rusher and their prized cornerback free agent signing.
Yeah.
So as long as they are healthy, last year, this time, this was a team everyone was picking to go where? The Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Absolutely talented enough. Now they got to go do it.
Yeah.
But if they stay healthy, this is as good a roster, talent-wise, as there is in the NFL.
Yeah.
I promise you
That's
that.
from 2023?
I promised you that's from yesterday. I swear it's not from 2021. It's not from 2020. It's not from 2019. It's not from 2018 because you could have said the exact same thing just about every single year. Great talent on the roster. Can they stay healthy? They were close. They're everyone's offseason favorite, maybe to be a surprise Super Bowl team. How many back when Sports Illustrated was still sending out magazines on a regular basis that actually people were subscribed to? I think they're now more digital. How many times would they have the offseason preview and the Chargers would be like, when they would have somebody predict their Super Bowl matchup, how many times would the Chargers be posted in there? This was even pre-Mahomes days.
Shouldn't they at least stop that because of the coach now? Isn't there enough? We always talk about 2 things in the NFL, coach and quarterback, coach and quarterback. Those are the only 2 things that matter, coach and quarterback. I mean, hasn't Staley cast enough doubt at this point? Like, Justin Herbert is incredible. I'm not even arguing that fact.
Yeah, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he's top 5, right? I mean, I would still put Burrow above him right now because he's accomplished more, and Josh Allen has accomplished more in the postseason, and Josh Allen's finished higher in the MVP than he ever has, so I'd probably put Josh Allen above him. And at this point, Jalen Hurts is going to start entering this conversation but he's only really shown that like MVP level play for that 1 season, so, it's almost like you want to see it again. Pretty much every year Justin Herbert's been a starter, he has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Their records in those years are 7-9, 9-8, and 10-7. So while I guess they are technically improving, 10-7 for an elite level quarterback is problematic. How are we doing this again?
Everything he's saying, what he's saying is correct. That because I mentioned.
Put the billboard back up on Carrington if he says it again.
Because you charge your dot. Because I mentioned earlier in the show that J.C. Jackson last year only played in 5 games, and Joey Bosa only played in 5 games. Like, those are facts. That is true, and they will be better if those guys play all season. That's true. The problem is, again, all this talk, though, which may even be accurate in these other off seasons as well, it just has never happened. You can't continue to repeat it over and over because they haven't actually done it. And it's
always like, if they do it, though.
But you've been talking about for 5, 6, 7 years. That's the problem.
But you just said it, Gold. What he's saying is not incorrect.
They do
have one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. I don't think any 3 of us would disagree with that.
I wouldn't.
Right?
I don't think
that's
it's
all
as
really
talented
saying.
as it once was.
It's all he's saying, Nick, but then when you're like, they could overtake the Chiefs, we roll our eyes because it's like, again, that line right there, we've been hearing for 7 years.
Well, so Matt Verderame actually made the same joke that we did, like, we've been saying that every single year on Twitter. And Dan Orlovsky responded. He said, totally, doesn't make it not true. They are capable. I'm not betting on it. But they are one of the teams talented enough to do it. Eventually, they have to.
They're not coached well enough. They're not coached
eventually,
eventually they have to. Eventually, they have to do it.
Eventually, they have to. I know what he means, but no, there's actually nothing that says it has to happen. It doesn't have to. No, it doesn't. Justin Herbert can be the quarterback for 5 more years. They still may not win the AFC West. It doesn't have to happen. I get the point. I'm obviously being a smartass a little bit, but it doesn't.
You can only say it so many years before we're like, it's boy who cried wolf. While it's not factually incorrect, if for 3 consecutive years you're like, they're one of the most talented rosters in the NFL, I'm like, well, maybe they're not.
But even we are not going to ignore the Chargers.
Well, here's the thing. The biggest threat to the Chiefs is the Chargers in their division, of course. But that's also been the case for how many years
Here's
now?
the problem. I'm starting to doubt my assessment of their roster, Nick. Because for the 4th consecutive year, I said, they're talented enough to take on anyone. And they don't.
Well, I do think
so. Maybe I have overestimated the roster talent.
As long as Justin Herbert...
Well, he's one of the most talented. I got no argument
But
there.
that's my point. As long as he continues to play at a high level, you're always going to take them somewhat seriously.
But
they're never going to remove them from the conversation as long as they have an elite talent at quarterback. We do that with every team.
Like we didn't want the Chiefs to face the Chargers in the postseason. We were much more interested in taking on Jacksonville.
No, the question, the roster I actually don't think is it's more just about coaching and health and just what always happens for the Chargers. The roster is absolutely.
But your roster's not as good if it's all injury prone. If the whole damn thing gets hurt all the time, the roster is not as good. They're a team full of Mondesies. You can't just pitch me talent if all that talent is hurt. That is part of your roster. Their inability to stay healthy under any circumstance.
Well, that goes back to like the rehab and the training staff, and we have questions about just their organizational philosophy. That's fair. But like in June, if we're just looking at rosters for teams, theirs would stack up with just about anybody's. That's the point. Like now all of a sudden I'm defending Dan Orlovsky, but like that point is actually like that part is actually correct. If we were just to go through 32 rosters in the NFL, the Chargers would have a top 5 NFL roster. Because right now they're healthy.
On June 1st.
And that's what you got to base it off of right now. But do I think by week 5 there's a chance that one of their star players is hurt? Yep. Well, history tells us as well that as much as we can say, well, eventually they're going to win the division, the one thing I do have strong evidence of is they're going to have somebody significant get injured, if not multiple players. You can say every team has injuries. Nobody has a quite like the Chargers.
You know what's so weird about the Chargers conversation with Brandon Staley being a defensive coach is I think it was last week or something we talked about how no team should be hiring defensive-minded head coaches.
If I'm a GM, I would never hire a defensive-minded head coach. Yeah.
Somehow, Brandon Staley, defensive-minded head coach, has not produced high-level results, even on defense.
They've been bad on defense.
It would be one thing if you had this great quarterback talent and a defensive-minded head coach and the defense was great, but you couldn't get the offense figured out. No, they can't even get the defense figured out. And the offense still has questions.
And somehow, 13th in points per game.
And somehow this guy has survived in an era when teams are very quick to move on from underperforming coaches.
Good news is for you. If they don't win a playoff game this year, he's getting axed.
Absolutely.
He's gone.
Absolutely he will.
And they are going to find the biggest offensive name available. They're going to go hire the hottest offensive coordinator, or they're going to...
No, they'll hire the Lions OC that stayed one more year. They'll hire Ben Johnson. He'll be the head coach of the Chargers in 2024.
Yeah, because the Lions, even though they had Jared Goff at quarterback, not Justin Herbert, they had the 3rd best offense in the NFL last year. Yep. And they didn't have the wide receiver talent that Justin Herbert has, who was 10 spots below them offensively.
The one part that
underperformers.
Intrigues me about the Chargers this year is that Kellen Moore is the OC. I do think that's a massive upgrade from what they've had.
It's definitely versus Lombardi.
Carmichael or Lombardi? One of the two.
It was Lombardi.
Yeah. Carmichael's
not
in New Orleans
not Vince.
now. Yeah. Not Michael?
It's his grandson, I think.
Not Michael?
Yeah, not Michael either.
Friend of the show?
Joe.
Band list?
Are we against all Lombardis?
No, Michael Lombardi. Joe Lombardi's fine. If Vince Lombardi comes back from the dead.
We're good there.
Yeah,
the trophy itself, like items named Lombardi, we're good with, obviously.
3 of them right here in KC.
So just that one.
I wonder where the first ever Lombardi trophy is.
Hall of Fame.
Random question.
The Hall of Fame?
Let's get to the random question.
Random question.
It's got to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't feel like it can be anywhere else. For you, Gold. For you, Nick. Over in the J Southland Tow Service text line 913-586-7610. I'm not going to make it about family today. That could only go poorly for me based on the way the previous conversations have taken place on there. So instead, I'm going to ask you, because we just wrapped up Succession, and we're going to talk about it at some point on the show, but not yet.
No spoilers yet.
You all told us we had to wait.
Yep.
And last night was the series finale of Ted Lasso.
Don't spoil that either.
I'm not spoiling that either. What I want to know is, how do you go about your process of choosing the next show you're going to watch? What replaces? How do you decide on the show that is going to replace your weekly or daily viewing? What's your process like?
There is no process.
I think it's a combination.
You just randomly choose a show?
Next question.
I think it does just happen. I think sometimes it does just happen. It's probably a combination of, with your friends, you're talking, like you're in conversation, somehow it comes up, and they basically unintentionally pitch you a show that you think you should check out, or you read an article online that says that these are the hottest new shows on blank platform, and you're like, oh, click. And it's a combination of taking in different...
You think it's a multi-source?
Yeah, but
you're saying a friend might have told you something about a show.
Yeah,
because here's the part of it. Part of my process is never, I'm just going to be on this app, and I'm just going to scroll through the available shows, and then I'm going to choose a show that way. I'm either going to do research on what shows are currently popular right now. I'm going to listen to
research.
I can't do research.
No.
Or like Nick and I were talking about, I Think You Should Leave. So that's probably next on the docket,
Just
but that won't last me very
something.
long.
Just watch it.
It's just getting feedback from friends or whatever. Or if I'm really, really bored, though, I'll just go Netflix. If top 10, I'll be like, oh, what's top 10 this week? I'm like, oh, that's interesting. If I haven't heard about it.
See, I won't do that.
You know what I hate?
Never find a show.
You know what
that
I
way.
hate and I won't do is I'm never going to research a show or a movie because you know how many times I have watched a movie, thought it was great, and then seen like the Rotten Tomatoes score be like a 40. And it's like if I would have looked at the Rotten Tomatoes score first, I never would have went and saw that
Like,
movie.
I don't know.
That's a
MacGruber?
Or if I would have known that it was given a bad rating and watched it anyway, I would have. You're sitting there waiting for it to suck. And I don't want to go into the movie or a show with that mindset. I go in with an open mind.
I don't go to Rotten Tomatoes, but I will go to, like, you know, I don't know, The Ringer or whatever that suggests. I'll go to sites that are, hey, these are the 10 best shows on HBO right now. I'll be like, all right, what do we got? Well, that's the plot line here. Let's figure out what these are about a little bit. I'm looking for a new show. I say word of mouth is a big part of that.
It is.
There's no doubt. Like, if I keep telling you, watch Barry, you might be like, okay, I'm going to go see it.
Yeah, Nick's point's probably really good on the Rotten Tomatoes or true rating scale of things. That there's so many times where all of a sudden you go into a movie feeling different because you read the rating ahead of time and going in, well, everybody's saying that this movie sucks. It's not going to be any good, and you're like, you know what?
Same thing the opposite way. Like if I go in thinking it's going to be a perfect movie because it's got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and there's one thing I don't like about it, I'm like, oh, that was kind of a letdown. It's like, no, it wasn't.
It was a great movie.
It wasn't the best movie you've ever seen.
I still need to see the remake, and they shouldn't have remade it, but this is one of those examples where the ratings haven't been great, but a few people said it's actually not that bad. Is the remake of White Men Can't Jump that's
By the way,
available.
that's not a ringing endorsement. Not that bad. I don't want to see something that's not that bad.
Everybody has talked like it's the worst thing ever because of the trailer.
Exactly.
And that's my point. It's not a great movie, but it's not as bad as everybody has made it out to be.
And now with the rating system, every movie or show has to be incredible. It has to just absolutely blow you away for it to be worth your time. I'm okay spending an hour and a half with a movie that's just okay. Okay, I watched it. It was fine.
If I'm doing that, they're almost always and exclusively action movies. Like,
That's
this is
fine.
just like mindless action movie. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, any transporter movie, I'm like, yes, this can be on one.
If I watch a comedy and it makes me laugh twice in an hour and a half, like that's not a waste of my time.
It's tough. I feel like when I'm doing those things, I'd like to be doing other things. Those are the kind of things I like watch if I'm doing dishes or watch
because you're so busy.
laundry.
You have so
No.
much stuff going on
I
in your life.
That's what it is.
I just don't want to sit
We
around
know
for
he's not
2
spending time
hours.
with his family. We know that
Yeah,
from the
too
earlier
busy.
conversation.
I didn't say I spend time with my family, my kids, my wife.
Too busy just like worrying about yourself.
That's not what I said.
Counting your money, is that what it is? You like to have some background noise while you're counting out your $100 bills each week?
You think that's how I do?
better, by the way,
I immediately take my check and put it in the cash.
Brown bag.
I made a preliminary phone call / request. You better keep those dollar bills and ones ready because at some point we're going to have to do the strip club.
Oh,
business.
you've made a preliminary call.
I finally made a preliminary call to make this thing. Enough talking. We're running out of time.
Actions speak louder than words.
Where? I don't want to go. God, I was kind of hoping this might just fall through the cracks one day. It's not going to fall through the cracks, what you're saying? You've begun the process? Pretty soon you're going to tell the listeners which strip club and when we're going?
Yeah, we haven't gotten that far down the road, but I also need to make sure we got our ducks in a row. But yes, we've made progress. It's going to have to happen in the next month and a half.
What do you guys do for rewatch television? If you're going to rewatch a show, like everybody has mindless TV they put on in the background, Nick. Everybody has like before bed TV or whatever. It's like you're rewatching Parks and Rec. How do you go about that process?
Is
it
process?
That's just random. I just kind of like whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a comedy, I play the hits, Office, It's Always Sunny, Curb.
And you just rotate through them, don't you?
Yeah, those four, honestly. Yeah. Office, It's Always Sunny, Curb, and Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
I just kind of hit those back
It's
to
like,
back.
well, when's the last one I watched the last
And I'll
time?
never watch those shows like start to finish. You know what I mean? Like I'll just watch a few episodes and maybe I'll be on a kick for a week and then it's on to something else.
You won't get I'll go season 1, and when this is over, then I'll just do something else.
You watch it all you'll.
Oh, it's not but it's you're not gonna watch it. I'll be coloring with the kid. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's just on. It's not. You're not paying close attention. If you fell asleep and it was on and 9 episodes went by, I'm not going back. Like it's just background. It's just noise.
You know what funny show I've been rewatching lately is Dave on FX.
Never seen it.
I don't even know what that's about.
Very funny. It's about this like white rapper. Well, I don't even know if he raps anymore, but his name's Lil Dicky.
Oh, I think you've mentioned.
Dude, it's so funny. It is so funny. I would highly recommend it to anybody looking for a new comedy. Yeah, the show's just called Dave.
I'm still worried about any of your comedy choices based on
I need to start
enjoyment of MacGruber.
We've talked about
which I have a ton of support in.
Need to start Jury Duty. Jury Duty's the one I want to start.
Jury Duty's really good
very
too.
good.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's like a field.
It's on Freevee or whatever, isn't it?
Amazon Prime.
Okay.
It's a very
Freevee's through Prime.
That is a very feel-good comedy.
Okay.
Because you like Ronald. He's just such a nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
I still need to finish Ted Lasso. I'm way behind on that. I don't know why I stopped watching. I'm a couple seasons behind. Yeah.
I mean, there's only three seasons.
I know.
What do you mean you're
I'm on the
couple
first
seasons
Yeah, a couple.
behind?
I'm on the first season. I'm a couple seasons behind. I'm on the first one.
I'm not even sure you started it the way you're talking.
I watched the pilot episode again last night, actually.
Oh, so
I
you
went back, because I think it was only like 4 or 5 in. I went back and watched the pilot, and I forgot the pilot was really good.
Sometimes you know what happens sometimes on the rewatch, Nick, is if they're getting ready to release new episodes. Like Justified's getting ready to have a new season, and you're like, well, I liked that show before. Maybe I need to watch some Justified episodes. Get caught up.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh man.
So now we know your process for watching new shows is just bring it up on the air and wait for people to suggest things.
It can be part of my new process.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody mentioned the show Silo, which I am interested in.
By the way, a lot of people on the text line backing me up on Dave. So
one person.
Two. Count. You got to count them both.
Huh? Looks like one.
Well,
Dave is incredible. Hilarious.
Actually, in fairness, only one person says. The other person is just talking about Little Dicky, the person, not about the show.
Well,
they
he's
just
the
talking
star.
about one of his songs.
He's the star of the show.
But they're not talking about anything about the show. They're
He
just
plays like a
supporting the person.
dramatized version of himself.
You way overplayed that everybody was supporting you on Dave. I'm
You know
not saying
what?
I'm not
How
interested.
about this? I saw an interview lately. Ben Stiller called it the funniest show on television. You ever heard of him?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Bet you feel real dumb now.
I didn't even say I wouldn't watch it. I just said I questioned your comedy taste because of MacGruber and your insistence that it is one of the greatest comedies of all time.
Well, it is. Oh, the support is just flowing like a geyser right now.
Well, at least now it's true. Versus the last time when you tried to claim this, literally one person had texted in about the show.
913-586-7610. Reminder, Snitch Line Thursday coming your way in about 25 minutes or
It's about your family.
About your family. And not Cody's family, about your family.
Yeah. My family's got plenty of dirt. Don't worry
Right.
about that.
About your family, something that you guys have done as a family, something a family member has done, whatever it may be, we'll get to those. But up next, want to get back into post-2018 and the draft for Kansas City, and if there's really 2 or 3 names that we should attach for the most effective picks in Chiefs history. That's next.
You're listening to Cody and Gold, brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. For asphalt, concrete, and parking lot maintenance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trusted in Kansas City since 1994. Online at GANNasphalt.com. Subscribe and download all new episodes of Nick's Wavin' in the Wheat podcast, released every Thursday on the 435 Podcast Network and the Odyssey app.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon you wish would never end. The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
Your taste buds will be best buds with Dr. Pepper Float Ice Cream from Bluebell. The rich taste of creamy vanilla ice cream swirled together with the one-of-a-kind flavor of delicious Dr. Pepper. Treat yourself to a pint or half-gallon today.
The good old days are being made right now. The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell ice cream at your favorite grocer. If you can't find it, please ask for it.
It's almost time to crown an NBA champion, and FanDuel wants you to be part of the excitement. Because right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. And what I love most about FanDuel is you get paid instantly. It's a safe and secure app, and they have great promotions every day. There's no better place to bet all the finals action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/610Bob and get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/610Bob. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA and 610 Sports Radio. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Lowe's knows the value of quality paint for pros. That's why starting on June 5th, Pro Paint Days are coming to Lowe's. Shop special savings on the products you need for all your paint jobs. Plus, MVP's members can take advantage of an additional limited time only paint offer when you shop Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams. Join the Pro MVP's Rewards program today. Offers valid 6/5 to 6/16. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. See Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty Terms. Subject to change.
O'Reilly Auto Parts Loaner Tool Program offers more than 80 specialty tools. Refundable deposit required. Stop by O'Reilly today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Nothing says summer like an ice-cold Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Smooth, refreshing, real brewed tea with 5% alcohol. Look for Twisted Tea in the bright yellow cans. Keep it twisted!
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-873-7171. 800-873-7171. 800-873-7171.
Take your cocktails to the next level with J. Rieger & Co. Straight Bourbon Whiskey bottled in bond. A double gold medal winner in the world's largest and most prestigious spirits competition, the 2023 San Francisco World Spirits Competition. Every bottle of Rieger Straight Bourbon Whiskey is distilled, bottled, and aged for 6 years. All in our Kansas City distillery. J. Rieger & Co., Kansas City's original distillery. Join the 69 Express Project. We're hiring for all positions. Stop by Country Inn & Suites in Lawrence next Thursday, June 8th from 3 to 6 p.m. for on-site interviews. Start earning competitive wages and benefits immediately. Country Inn & Suites in Lawrence, June 8th from 3 till 6.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
I switched to Boost Mobile and got a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part?
It was free?
Nope.
The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks?
Nope. It's the ding.
Oh yeah, love the ding.
Right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingaroner, the ring-a-ding-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per line. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Max Motors Studios.
Talking with Lorenzo Kane here on 610 Sports Radio.
Honestly, that trade to Kansas City was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
610 Sports Radio, KCSP Kansas City, WDAF HD2 Liberty, always live on the free Odyssey app.
All right, we're back here on Cody and Gold. We are actually expecting to head out to Arrowhead at some point. Next maybe 15, 20 minutes or so. We'll keep an eye on that. Andy Reid will address the media. Off-season workouts continue out at Arrowhead. Also, snitch line about 7 minutes away, 913-586-7610. But I wanted to spin off of a tweet that I saw, which was asking the question around 2017, but we'll go 2018 and later, and it was whether or not you can name the most effective pick, not including Mahomes, from 2017, but we'll do 2018 on. I think there's only...
If you include 2017, you're not going to enjoy it outside of Mahomes.
I honestly think there's three names that you can even have a conversation about, and then you can debate positional value. Because a couple names come to mind right away. I think Creed Humphrey and L'Jarius Sneed and Nick Bolton. Those are the three.
Not Trey Smith.
No,
he's been a starter just as long as Creed Humphrey has been.
But we don't. So as much as great as talent Trey Smith is, I don't know if anybody's saying he's the best guard in football.
That's fair. Not yet.
He's one of the better guards, but not the best. Nick Bolton is one of the best interior linebackers. Not a great positional value. Creed Humphrey's number one or number two center in football. L'Jarius Sneed plays the fourth most important position valued wise on the field.
If I broke it down by per season, Karlaftis would enter this conversation because it's only 1 year and he had 6 sacks and he was impactful in the postseason in a year that they won the Super Bowl. Like, I could make an entertainment that Karlaftis has been one of the most, if not the most impactful, because Sneed he's the only one on this list that gets included that has 2, right? He has 2 rings and everyone else has, or does he have 2? He drafted in 2020. No, he's got 2. So when you look at
26, so yeah, he would have been drafted in 2020.
Yeah. So when you go back through, but that would have been off the list. That would have been the year after. So even he's got 1. So when you're looking at through the list, I was like, God, is there somebody who has 2? Like, if you just talk about helped you win a Super Bowl, which is what we talk about in Kansas City a lot anyway, then what you're talking about is guys who helped you do it. And Karlaftis arguably did that just as much. I still think it's Sneed or Creed Humphrey because they have been day 1 starters pretty much. Sneed's position is more valuable. He's got an integral role in how they operate defensively versus Creed, who does not change how they operate offensively. He just immediately became one of the 2 best centers, if not the best center in all of the NFL. But that's, I have a hard time overlooking that. Nick Bolton, I do think is a good linebacker, but to what you just said, it's hard because nobody says L'Jarius Sneed's the best corner in the NFL either. Nobody says Nick Bolton is the best linebacker. They're just some of the better position players of theirs. Creed Humphrey is the best player at his position, or arguably the best player at his position.
Yeah,
you can't make the argument with the other 2.
Yeah, it's 1 or 2 for him.
Yeah, it's him or Travis Kelce's brother. I mean, that's it. It's the only 2 people that people even have a conversation about. Like, I think outside of that, there is no real argument because we're not going to bring up everyone else is a role player or plays a part.
And I can't pick.
Or could be the answer later, like Karlaftis and McDuffie, but aren't now.
I can't pick a running back. I can't pick Isaiah Pacheco after
what if he goes
12 plus games or 13 plus games.
What if he plays like 3 more years at 1,000 all-purpose yards or so, and let's say they win 1 more Super Bowl? Then could that be the answer?
He could be in the conversation, absolutely, at that point in time, because the longevity is the biggest issue, along with the production. It can't just be 1 year of it. It's got to be multiple years of it. And also, now are we talking just where they were drafted? You know what I mean? Like, the question is who's been the most effective pick, not the most valuable pick. Because if we're going to include value into it, then Pacheco would have a great chance of being that answer because he was
a 7th-round pick. But then Trey Smith would jump Creed Humphrey most likely.
Absolutely. So
because he was a 6th-round pick and not a 2nd.
So I'm not for the question is like what was the most valuable pick is different than who has been the most effective pick post 2018. Those are 2 different things for me.
I think it's Sneed. I mean, I want to argue for Creed Humphrey because we talk about this all the time in positional value, but if I'm going to say that, then I can't be nitpicky about some of the stuff they've done because Brett Veach has done most of his best drafting at non-important positions. But at corner, he has done some of his best drafting, and that is a high-value position. McDuffie looks really good. Sneed, we saw what they got out of the undrafted guy in a pretty much a 6th-round trade, roughly, because that's what they drafted the player in that they traded. In Charvarius Ward, they got good play out of Williams in the 4th, good play out of a 7th-rounder, right, last year in Jalen Watson. So, it's hard for me to not answer Sneed because of what we talked about him. Goldie does everything. He gets sacks. The only thing he doesn't do probably is intercept as many passes as maybe you would like out of a normal corner. But he is as versatile as anybody on their entire defense. It's hard for me to not say he's been their most valuable draft pick other than Patrick Mahomes since that time. And look, we just said 2018 on because, again, that 2017 class, the only argument you could make is Kareem Hunt, and he wasn't here long enough to count that way for the Chiefs. He's been a very valuable NFL player, but not for Kansas City.
It'll always be interesting just years down the road how much this answer changes, or much like we were discussing, how great of a roster will Mahomes have around him? What are we saying by the end of the season versus what we say in 2025? Based on the draft, we know drafting has been ultra successful for Kansas City, but everybody will still pinpoint wanting that superstar. That hasn't happened yet, but I still think there's challenges there when you're picking at 28 to 32. Just about every single year, unless you're going to be ultra aggressive and trade up. They traded up to get McDuffie. It's why he has a chance to be a star in this league. It's very difficult to find those stars at pick 31, 32, and later.
It happens in the NFL, but yes, it is far more.
Of course it happens, yeah.
It is far more difficult, just generally speaking, yes. It comes with a lot of challenges, and it's much less likely to be the case or to be the solution, which we know. But that's also why, when we're talking about these players and which one matter more or less than the other, it's why we probably all come back around a corner eventually. Because the three guys you mentioned are probably most people's list. Nick Bolton, Creed Humphrey, and L'Jarius Sneed. But it really needs to be going forward, Karlaftis and McDuffie. If we're having this conversation 3 years from now, I think those two are going to need to be a part of this conversation if we're going to keep talking about the level of sustained success. You know who I wish it was? I wish that we were having a conversation about Sky or McCole or some of these other wide receivers they've taken, but those just haven't panned out. It's hard.
We'll find out how Sky does this year.
If you take a time, because it's not fair, because if you said, oh, well, then let's just do who are the Chiefs' most impactful draft picks from 2010 to 2016? Same timeline, right? As 2017 to now. Same 6-year timeline. Well, that's not going to look great for Veach. Even though he has far more success because they have Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes would be included in that list. So would, I don't know, Eric Berry, Justin Houston, whoever, right? It's a million.
Sure.
Right? Maybe Justin used a little before that, but right around that same. Marcus Peters, whatever.
Yeah, Veach got 2 rings and
so
5 straight AFC
Exactly. I think sometimes because they're not in important position, it feels like he's not accomplishing it, but there are plenty of people who can be entered into this conversation.
All right, let's get to it.
The number you have reached. You've called the snitch line.
And if I have to tell you again, we're going to take it outside and I'm going to show you what it's like.
913-662-1270.
Leave him alone!
Please leave your message for Thursdays at 1:15 on Cody and Gold.
And if you think I'm kidding, just try me. Try me. So we're good?
913-586-7610. Spags was trying to interrupt the snitch line. No, we're not. If Spags says something interesting.
Spag want to snitch about his family?
If Spags says something interesting, we'll certainly let you guys know, and we'll discuss that. But we're not going to go out to Arrowhead unless Andy speaks, which now looks like may not happen today. So let's get to the snitch line. 913-586-7610. Family edition after the controversial statement you made, which was what? You don't believe people, when they're home for the holidays, should stay at their parents' house.
No, see, you're putting it. That's not.
That's what
you said. It was weird. You said it was weird.
I just said staying at your parents in general. I did not specify holidays at the time. That just came up later in the conversation. So now you're trying to make it a micro thing, and I was making it a much bigger point.
Ooh, that is trying to clean it up quite a bit. That's trying to clean it up. Anyway, that's the theme.
It's much broader.
Family. Snitch on your family. Snitch on something your family has done. You've done to family members. 913-586-7610. We'll start it off from the 816. This one came in when we were having that conversation earlier. It says when they were 10, they saw their brother using their toothbrush. He would always complain about how his gums hurt, so he urinated on his toothbrush on the next day using it.
Oh,
you belong in prison.
Don't do that. Now, he was 10 years old.
Straight to jail.
He was 10 years old.
Well, then kiddie jail. Whatever, but you have to go there.
Juvie?
Yeah.
So this one came in kind of funky, but I'm deciphering it. I don't think it's a family one. It says, snitch, I was sitting at a stoplight in OP on Sunday in my rented truck when I found a gun under my seat. Some a-hole was waving his hands at me, so I stopped at the next intersection and showed him the gun so that he would understand why I was so frazzled and didn't immediately go at the green light. Went straight to the police department to turn the weapon in.
Huh.
Wow,
Wait a minute,
really?
And that
making-
person,
Wait, you know what that's making
can
me
you find
think?
out if this person had Illinois plates? Did you find out?
Well, he said it was a rental truck.
rental truck. So out
You
of
know
town.
what? You know what that makes me think
I didn't
is
know you
that
could-
could have been. Oh wow! Wait, that could have been the guy.
Yeah,
See,
you know-
you thought he was threatening you. He was just trying to show you, like, hey,
Yeah,
man.
He's trying to be a good citizen.
Yeah, the guy that brandished his weapon. Oh, it turns out I didn't know you could rent 2002 trucks. I didn't know you could do that.
Maybe it was a cheap. Maybe
I
he got a good deal.
didn't know you could rent vehicles
about on,
from
like-
the early 2000s.
You know, one of those like day services. you
Turo,
know? Yeah.
Turo, T-U-R-O.
Can you rent a 2002 truck on Turo?
They still have. I don't know if it goes back. They have year restrictions. Like it has to be a certain age of a car. But
Probably
Maybe
not.
it was like a classic truck.
it was definitely not. I can promise you, it was not a classic truck. It was nothing special. I did not file a police report yesterday. I did not for somebody else.
Some people were saying yesterday it's your duty as a citizen of Overland Park.
Someone said that they recommend, because there might be other people that are impacted, that he might do that too as well. And that was a fair
You
point.
could be protecting your fellow citizens.
Is there a timeline? A legit question. Legally, is there a timeline you have to file a police report?
I mean, there's a
For something
timeline.
like this? I don't-
Probably.
Well, I don't think the timeline has exhausted.
I'm not legit question though. Like, do you have a week? I'm not talking about like
Let's say a month.
I'm not saying to claim someone committed a crime against you. I'm talking about like in this case, like a police report for a traffic type of.
I would say inside a couple of weeks is probably for the best. But
Okay, so I got a couple days. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I don't know.
Here from the 913, my grandma was sick. They gave her promethazine, a.k.a. lean. I stole it and drank half the bottle. You're lucky to be alive.
yeah, what the hell? That was a risky
I'll be honest,
proposition.
guys. I don't know what that is.
So promethazine was made famous in the 2000s by Memphis area rappers sipping on some scissorp.
Oh,
Yeah, they would.
Okay.
Like rappers would mix it with like Sprite, and you
Okay.
get really high.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I actually had chronic bronchitis once, and
Bronchitis.
I had-
What's that clip? Which is like
I had-
bronchitis.
I had promethazine. It gives you a nice little buzz.
Okay.
816. The other week I saw some house front door open. No one was home, so I made a sandwich and ate it on like 5 decks.
Wow.
One of their
Sounds
5
familiar.
decks.
Did you leave your front door open recently?
I did.
That's right.
I left for a full 2.5 hours with my front door
That's
open.
right. That's right.
I don't think it really counts, for the deck
Okay,
department.
what's with all the urination?
There's a lot of people.
Yeah, people.
My brother talked me into peeing in my sister's Pepsi, so I did just a little bit. She bought herself a nice tall glass at dinner, and we were just dying inside.
Why did you all pee in things that your siblings were going to either...
Let's get off that subject. Yeah. Someone says
Gross.
self-snitch, 913-586-7610. This is from the 913. Self-snitch. Someone says they have bought more gifts for friends and strippers than their family members.
Oh no!
So you're a giving person, just not to your family.
Maybe he has a
Like-
small family.
Are these like you're buying them jewelry and stuff?
Like what kind
Are
of...
these like your girlfriends?
We need a follow-up probably.
Or
yeah.
just like even like random Christmas presents, you know? You get them like a board game.
Yeah.
Giving the stripper
I
Trivial
don't
Pursuit.
love it. I'm not gonna lie, sir. I don't love it.
Someone else says they'd like to snitch on Cody directly for being the one who offered the idea at the beginning of the show, not taking any shots at each other for the whole day, and you were the first person to crack a joke or a shot.
I was being tested. Nick was testing me. He was
And
pretty
you
much
failed.
begging for
And you
it.
failed.
You made it 30 minutes today? Or
Yeah.
almost an hour.
Well, then the
actually.
entire thing devolved in the noon hour when I had said
Mm.
the stuff about family. So
Someone says they were buying their friends and strippers pearl necklaces.
Is that a euphemism?
I don't know. I think so.
probably safe.
We'll stay away from that. 913-586-7610. Go ahead.
I'm trying to skip past the disgusting ones.
All the pee
From
and
the
blood related
816,
ones.
sometimes I leave work early and I don't clock out until I get home. How's that work?
Time theft.
Well, they probably have an
Digital.
app. They probably have an app that they clock out.
Actually, we'd like you to start keeping your hours, Nick. We'd like to know when.
He's
you-
not.
I don't get paid by the hour.
He's a salary employee. What?
So is this person. People still have to clock in and out.
Not always.
don't.
Not always.
Like what? But that's it. It
No,
can
but
still work
it
that way
can,
sometimes.
but we-
I'm saying not for us, just Nick. I just want Nick clocking in and out.
Why? You're not my boss.
Keep track of your hours.
I just want to make that very clear. You're not my boss.
I'm telling you, I mentioned this. Look, you guys that are listening can understand this as well. I remember saying this last week. Cody, I warned you, and the listeners,
Why did you warn me?
can blame you. You're going to run off Nick. You keep being a
Nick.
jerk. You keep pressuring him. He's just going to say "F you guys" and leave one day.
You'd
And it's
never
going
leave us.
to be your fault when he does.
Try me.
When he does, it is going to be your fault.
Do it, bitch. Try.
See, this is the kind of
Try and leave this show.
He's going to leave because of you.
Try and leave this show.
Job search starts tonight.
He's going to leave because of you.
What else are you qualified for besides like radio stuff?
Wow.
I'm just asking.
Wow.
I've said that about myself.
Wow, man.
I'm more qualified than you.
In what way?
In life. In life. I have more attractive qualities.
Like as a person or like as a skill set?
As a professional.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That might be true.
You know what I am? I'm subordinate. I listen to what the bosses say. You spend
I'm not
you
insubordinate.
Nick,
you
Nick,
often,
have you stolen from your boss's office?
I have not.
No,
I have not marched into my boss's
just
office.
that one
I haven't
time.
either. Cody, you did that on the air, I believe.
One time.
Alex, do you often spend your time at work talking about what the bosses should do? Do you spend time on the air saying what the company should do better?
No, not usually. Cody?
I'm not going to apologize for speaking up against things the company may or may not do right.
Again, you're going to run off. We're going to have to be looking for a producer if you keep this up. You're going to run him off.
He just called me bitch. Like, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Text line said, did
Because of that?
Cody really go there? He said, do it, bitch. Yep, he did. He just did.
Remember this moment. I want you to remember this moment when I turn in my 2 weeks notice.
Okay. I will. I'll
June
remember.
1st, 1:16 p.m.
You've got the time marked.
Yeah, it's probably smart. Last week, I warned you as well. Last week.
What? Why? Because I said, I don't even remember what I said last
week. You said something, and I was like, man, you got to be careful. You're gonna end up running away, causing our producers to run away.
Well, I didn't cause Serta to leave.
Now I'm seeing why he left. Yeah, now I'm starting to realize.
What do you mean I didn't do?
Yeah. He warned me, too. That's the thing that's scary. He warned me about you.
He did not warn you about me. He didn't leave because of me. You got a different job.
I'm leaving, and I'm taking my 213 flashpoint with me. Text line reminded me that.
Wow.
Not leaving any scoops behind.
Just taking it all for yourself, huh? That's very selfish. Nick, you can stay. It's okay. Will you stay? I'll miss you if you leave.
Oh, yeah, come crawling back.
Now you're going to beg. How embarrassing.
Pathetic.
Yeah. That's no good? So I can't threaten you to leave, but I also can't ask you to stay?
It's too late. You can't undo the wrongs.
Wrongs? Multiple? Are there others?
913-586-7610. Someone says they have a plastic eye. They used to take it out and chase the girls around the playground with it.
Oh, I'm sure they loved that. When you were done doing that, were you just like busy having sex all day?
Yeah, that really got him going. The plastic eye.
You know, you're already not, I would assume, Frank, who tagged himself in this, I would assume you were already kind of had the deck stacked against you, so to speak. I'm sure that wasn't really a useful way to endear yourself to women. They probably already weren't super attracted to you in your plastic eye. So popping it out and chasing them around with it.
Man.
Oh, my goodness.
He offered up the information.
So wait, I can be critical of one thing, but you can just mock this person's entire existence?
He's mocking himself. He said he chased girls around the playground with his plastic eye. Am I really breaking any news there? You ever go on a dating profile and say, what things I'm interested in? Guys with plastic eyes. Bonus points if you pop it out and chase me around the house with it.
By the way, did you know those were plastic?
Thought they were glass.
Yeah. A legit question.
They come in different materials.
He said it was in 3rd grade.
Okay.
I guess I should have figured playground.
Okay. Okay.
It would be worse if you're currently doing
Playground.
that, by the way. If you're going to playgrounds and chasing girls around with your plastic
Now
eye.
Nick's shaming 3rd graders for not having sex yet.
Oh.
That's what you did.
I'm just saying those 3rd graders are going to remember you in 8th grade.
That's what Nick meant.
So wait, now you're suggesting to start having sex in the 8th grade? Choose a different grade.
By 8th grade, you were having sex with like a 26-year-old at the club.
Not
so
true.
I don't really know.
Yeah,
That's not true.
You were 14 and you went to a club with a 30-year-old.
Yeah, but
We didn't go to the club with her. He went home with her.
But I told her
true.
I was 22, and I didn't go home with her. Anything that happened between us was at the club. It's very different.
And consensual, right? That's what you told the police?
I didn't tell the police anything.
Oh wait, so you're criticizing me for not filing a police report about the dude brandishing a gun, but you wouldn't actually go to the authorities about this.
She was lied to. She was under complete false.
What do you mean lied to?
I didn't tell her. I told her I was 22, like
Cody.
my ID said.
Cody, if someone's 30 and they're hanging out with a 14-year-old that they think is 20, there's no way someone that's 14 looks like they're 22. So she chose not to.
Alex, you're what, 32?
I am.
But there are 22-year-olds who look like they're 14. There are young-looking 22-year-olds.
Okay, you need to stop talking.
Yeah, this is not going to go well for you.
What?
No, you should actually seriously stop
I don't
talking.
think this is going to go well for you.
That's just not a sentence you want to have.
I'm talking about myself.
These kids are looking older and older now.
I said they looked younger. It's the opposite.
Yeah,
You should stop.
I don't think we want to go down that road.
I said the
I don't
opposite.
think we wanna
He's
go
the
down-
one who said 14-year-olds can't look like they're 22.
Yeah. I'm aware of what he said. I'm aware of what you said. You seem to be the only person confused.
Not confused.
Oh, man.
Just saying.
Oh, goodness.
Go ahead, double down, triple down. It's been a banner day for you.
Can I just leave? Can I just leave the rest of the show?
I'd be looking for an
Someone
escape hatch
says
too.
post-show meeting with the boss in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, be checking that email.
I'm going to hope he's got a meeting or something after the show.
Is the office light on? The office light is on.
You think he's listening right now?
Hopefully not.
The boss is always listening.
He can't listen to 12 hours of programming a day.
It's his job.
This is disgusting. Snitch line, I guess, just continuing. 913-586.
This is the longest snitch line we've had in a while.
It says they're a postman. They go to the restroom at the same place every morning. Some rando comes out, has explosive diarrhea, never washes his hands. I know not to shake hands, just elbow bumps. So it's the same person over and over.
Has that person considered seeing a doctor?
Well,
every day?
Yeah, same place, same time. Gross.
Well, I wish we would have ended it differently today.
Oh, you wanted to end it on
I
conversation?
I was hoping
about
for a
age?
different one.
Oh.
I was hoping for a different
Well, I don't
one.
have another one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is the 610 snitch line.
All right, coming up next, we will get to what's trending. We'll also get back into what is going to be asked of Charles Omenihu this year and whether or not he's going to reach those goals next.
There's Kelsey to the end zone.
Cody and Gold brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. For asphalt, concrete, and parking lot maintenance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trusted in Kansas City since 1994. Online at GANNasphalt.com. Don't miss the Chiefs Red Half Hour every day at 11:30 on your official broadcast partner of the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
Attention BetMGM customers. Have a friend who loves sports as much as you do? Well, here's a chance for both of you to earn a $50 bonus when they sign up through BetMGM's Refer a Friend program. Just sign into your BetMGM account and click on Refer a Friend program to send your friend a message, inviting them to register a new account in the same state you use BetMGM in. Once your friend signs up and makes a deposit, you'll both receive a $50 bonus. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly and offer resources to help you make appropriate choices. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager, Kansas only. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire in 30 days. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. BetMGM Sports is in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Experience the future of connectivity with Spectrum One. Get Spectrum Internet and one unlimited mobile line for just $29.99 a month each, plus advanced Wi-Fi free. Spectrum Internet delivers speeds up to 300 megabits per second. With Spectrum Mobile, you get unlimited talk, text, and data. And advanced Wi-Fi brings you enhanced privacy and security. Internet and mobile for $29.99 a month each, plus advanced Wi-Fi free. Visit spectrum.com/2999 or a Spectrum store today. Offers subject to change. Valid for qualified residential customers only. Service not available in all areas. Restrictions apply.
Lowe's knows the value of quality paint for pros. That's why starting on June 5th, Pro Paint Days are coming to Lowe's. Shop special savings on the products you need for all your paint jobs. Plus, MVP's members can take advantage of an additional limited time only paint offer when you shop Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams. Join the Pro MVP's Rewards program today. Offers valid 6/5 to 6/16. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. See Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty Terms. Subject to change.
O'Reilly Auto Parts Loaner Tool Program offers more than 80 specialty tools. Refundable deposit required. Stop by O'Reilly today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Nothing says summer like an ice-cold Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Smooth, refreshing, real brewed tea with 5% alcohol. Look for Twisted Tea in the bright yellow cans. Keep it twisted!
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
Growing up, nothing was more fun than playing outside, climbing trees and getting dirty. Hi, this is Larry Ryan with Ryan Lawn and Tree. Well, we grew up, but now we love working outside, creating beautiful lawns, caring for trees and shrubs, fixing irrigation systems, and providing our customers with industry-best pest services. Our Ryan Pros are passionate about creating spaces your family, friends, and even pets can enjoy. Our Ryan Pros in those clean red trucks are highly trained, full-time employee owners. And as an owner, they're personally committed to providing you with unmatched results and award-winning 5-star customer service. And we're local, so no 1-800 number here. Visit RyanLawn.com today for a free estimate. Hey, and if you want an outdoor career with us as an employee owner, visit RyanLawn.com. I personally guarantee you'll be glad you did.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And in the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. The crazy thing is, this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. 800-981-4455. That's 800-981-4455. 800-981-4455.
I switched to Boost Mobile and got a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part?
It was free?
Nope.
The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks?
Nope. It's the ding.
Oh yeah, love the ding.
Right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingaroner, the ring-a-ding-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per line. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year. Which means... Wait. Hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Apparently. Wait! Unlimited first-year cash back match. Only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
The Dell Technologies Summer Sale event starts now with limited quantity deals on select performance PCs with Windows 11 Pro. Save on select Vostro laptops with built-in security features and select Latitude laptops with enhanced privacy, collaboration, and connectivity. Save on essential accessories, plus free shipping and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. Offered to business customers by WebBank, who determines qualifications for and terms of credit.
Finding great people to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Their powerful matching technology delivers so many qualified candidates, it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit GetJim.com.
Chiefs coverage brought to you by Max Motors. 9 major vehicle brands to choose from. MaxMotors.com.
The Great American Road Trip Sales event going on at all Max Motors dealership locations. Enjoy your summer payment-free for 90 days. Over 30 banks and credit unions offering the lowest interest rates available. Shop 24/7 at MaxMotors.com. Open late. See dealer for details.
What's trending?
All right, let's check in on the hot topics trending.
Number one on What's Trending, NBA Finals start tonight. We get Game 1 between the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets. the Nuggets. 9-point favorites tonight, significant favorites for the series as well. The Nuggets have had quite some time off. That's always kind of the storyline, the rust factor and all that. We'll see first quarter tonight how that goes in particular. Also, the Boston Celtics announcing today that Joe Mazzulla will be back as the Celtics head coach. There was a lot of noise whether or not after falling down 3-0 to Miami, and of course they ended up forcing a Game 7, but like, hey, he looked outmatched. Eric Spoelstra running circles around him, all that. But they will retain him for at least one more year, which I think for one more year is actually at least smart. I mean, he went to an Eastern Conference final. He was able to get him back to a Game 7, made some mistakes. Now find out if he learned from them. Next year, if it's rough or whatever, then yeah, then you move on.
Normally, it's like, wait one more year before you completely tear down your NBA team just to make sure. But typically when you're a team like the Celtics with title aspirations any given year, things don't go well for a second consecutive year, Gold, then yeah, it's over. Next up on What's Trending, a late snitch from the text line.
Okay.
Says his cousin recently trapped and killed a groundhog, and he's gonna eat it. No. Felt like we had to finish on that one, so
I thought you were going to bring up, we got a text yesterday or a tweet yesterday from somebody saying a trash of the day suggestion. They thought it was related to Nick. You guys see the story out of New York where two friends were arrested. They killed the town swan.
Sounds like Nick. Good start.
They stole the 4 babies, and they ate the swan.
What?
So they stole the swan babies.
Yeah, it says...
ate the swan after murdering it?
A teenager and 2 friends arrested in Syracuse, New York.
That's bleak.
For killing and eating the town swan and stealing her 4 babies.
That's disgusting.
Nick decided just to kill the goose instead right away.
Didn't decide to...
Did you kill its babies?
Stop it.
I was just asking.
And it wasn't a swan, it was a goose, and it was inadvertent.
The town
I didn't choose to kill the swan.
What are you eating over there, man? I can hear the bag ruffling.
It's Bink's in here. And he looks to be eating some snack cookies.
I can hear it in the background. It's driving me crazy.
Like, I can hear some rustling. Tell me what it is.
Bink's in for Sneed today, by the way. I didn't even see Bink over there. Like, what is that damn noise?
He's chilling.
He is. What's up, Bink? Good to see you, man.
I guess next up on What's Trending, USC will face Kansas State, and Oregon will play Georgia on November 6th in Las Vegas to open up their seasons. Why this is important? Well, USC's first matchup against K-State will be the first game of Bronny James' collegiate career. So K-State will be taking on Bronny James for his first game in college.
That's awesome. That's some more intrigue.
You can hear right here on 610 Sports Radio.
You can. Bronny James makes it more interesting for college anyway, and then it's cool. They'll go up against K-State very early on, out in Las Vegas, too.
Yeah, those early season tournaments have really become the only way any college basketball team in a Power 5 handles these things. Hell, even UMKC typically plays in these tournaments in these earlier parts of the season, but getting the first game of Bronny James is that. I mean, that's far more than normal. What's the NBA season would have been? What, about a month into there? Any chance?
Sorry,
I was trying to decide if there's any chance LeBron was going to have like an off day and get a chance to see his kid play his first collegiate game. Because you see him all the time on the sideline of, like all the time on the sideline of high school games.
He lives in L.A. If he can go down to the U.S., you know what I mean? Like if they do have a random off day and they're at
home
but that
for
was
the
in
weekend,
Vegas. So that one, but in general, you're saying just for his first game? Yeah, probably going to miss that one. Probably going to. Next up on What's Trending, just a little bit of notes from OTAs and everything still going on today. Pete Sweeney tweeting this out as well, but Dave Tobe confirming that he expects new returners this year. One of the first names he mentioned was the undrafted rookie running back out of Tulsa, Deneric Prince, the running back. So he reminded him of Nile Davis. Nile Davis had that kickoff return for a touchdown against the Texans in the playoffs. And also mentioned wide receivers Richie James, John Ross, Amir Smith-Marset, and Sky Moore.
They have way more options in the kick and punt return game than they did just even a year ago, obviously, when Sky Moore was given the job. So, look, if they want to keep trying with Sky Moore now that some of the pressure's off, fine. But also, I don't think that necessarily that solves that problem. You know, like going to that in the long term is the solution. Next up on What's Trending, don't forget the Cody and Gold Garage Sale coming up June 20th. Right here on 610 Sports Radio. You'll be able to bid at 610sports.com. You'll be able to see those items at 610 Sports KC on Twitter. We have a ton of experiences, a ton of items coming up there. Some of the same stuff you'd come to expect. Like I told you, the Big 8 basketball from Hardee's in the 90s. The KC Current gave us a package today that includes 4 passes of their game, a scarf, a hat, so many other of their goodies as well. So we got a lot of new experiences, a lot of new items coming up for you this year. We've been working on a drinking experience with Bink, which I think has to go for at least $500. Drinking with Binkley
that's
on a Friday or
priceless.
Saturday night, that is priceless.
That is a priceless event. No, we are.
That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
We are thrilled with some of the experiences we mentioned earlier today. We have a new one this year with Prairie Band Casino and Resort, Prairie Band Sportsbook, and Firekeeper Golf Course for a stay-and-play experience. So it'll be a hotel room for a weekend, 2 Firekeeper rounds, 2 buffets, and 2 reserved lounge seats in their sports book. And on Sunday for an away Chiefs game, we'll be bedding up in the sports book. I'll be part of that as well. So looking forward to one of those experiences. June 20th, up on 610sports.com.
Third annual. This is our longest running tradition.
It is. It absolutely is.
3 years.
That's what's trending here on Cody and Gold.
I actually think, Nick, you should, after our conversation about family, I absolutely think staying the night with your parents should be an experience available to people to bid on.
I'm sure his parents would love that.
Will you ask him? Just ask him for real if they'd be interested in doing this one time for us.
I'll ask.
I'm sure his parents just want complete strangers just staying at their home.
Once you stay at the Schwartz house, you're like family.
That Cody doesn't want to ever see.
Well, I didn't say that. I just said I don't stay the night at my parents' house.
He's saying he doesn't want to see his family. He's okay seeing other people's family. Because it's not family to him. It's just people.
That's not what I said.
Someone says, trying to drink with Binkley on a Friday or Saturday night literally sounds like something I would do on my last birthday on Earth because he would drink me under the table.
Well, that's accurate. Binkley can drink. And I wouldn't challenge him to a chugging contest either. He's beaten us all handily at the station.
Oh, yeah. During COVID, there was the whole video challenge.
Yeah, I got
that.
destroyed.
That's why he did it.
What, to embarrass us?
No, because he knew he was going to win.
So you saying he's only doing things he knows he's going to win?
No, I'm just saying that he knew he
was
going to.
See.
No.
Gotcha.
That.
Understood.
You were about to say something?
No.
Oh, you took like a half breath as if you were about to start a sentence.
And then I decided it was an unimportant statement.
Oh, progress. Progress on the show today.
You play the breaking news center, Nick?
That was progress. I wanted to talk about Charles Omenihu a little bit because his contract details more have come out. They have these incentives that are literally not likely to be reached, which doesn't count against the cap. And if you hit them, it then goes towards the following year. And the big one that's of note, not just, hey, win a playoff game, win an AFC title game, win a Super Bowl, potentially could get $2 million if he wins a Super Bowl, and has 65% of snaps. That's the big key throughout that incentive. 65% of snaps for Charles Omenihu. He can play inside, he can play outside. He was actually one of their, other than Juwan Taylor, one of their bigger offseason signings.
But he's never hit that number. Last year was his highest percentage. He didn't even get to 60.
But that's the question. How often is he going to play? And you're right. Go back to his days with the Niners and also even the year he spent with the Texans. He has never actually had more than 54% of his team's defensive snaps. Last year, Chris Jones had 80%, just to give you a barometer, and he was the only Chiefs defensive lineman that got above 65%. Now, they had two guys that were within a percent or two. Karlaftis had 64% of the snaps, and Frank Clark had 63%. We know Frank Clark's out of the picture.
That's still short.
If Frank Clark's not in the picture, you bring in Omenihu, you draft Felix Anudike-Uzomah. It'd be interesting to see what the split is. Because Felix has been acknowledged throughout OTAs. He's been a little banged up. He still hasn't been, they haven't got a good look at Felix yet because he's been banged up. It might be a slow.
I think Spags talked about today at his press conference.
It might be a little slow out the gate. Well, let's not kid ourselves. Karlaftis, who ended up with 6.5 sacks, was slow out the gate.
Week 7 or 8?
So that's why Charles Omenihu, week 1 against the Lions on Thursday night, Omenihu's getting a huge chunk of the snaps. The question is, does that dissipate later on in the year? But I think he's going to get a big bulk of those 65+%. If you were to average it out the first 3 weeks of the season, I think he's hitting that number.
I think they have a bigger role planned for him than San Francisco had, but this is a really good reminder just in general about why it's going to be hard to actually hit that incentive. Is because there is a reason why on almost any team, Gold, defensive linemen don't play more than that 60-65% range. And the reason why is you aren't effective. It's too physical a position. It's why good defensive lines rotate people out regularly. I think you can make an argument that the Chiefs are one free agent, veteran defensive line signing away from being deeper on the defensive line than they were last year. Coburn comes in. He's a 4th-round pick. He's immediately some of the snaps for Colin Saunders. We already talked about Anudike.
But how does that make them deeper? If they lost Saunders and they added Coburn, doesn't mean they're deeper. They might be matching what they got.
Yeah, but I'm saying like Anudike for Frank Clark, just from like a maybe or for Omenihu for Frank Clark, then Anudike for the other guys that they're missing, and maybe Dunlap plus one more veteran. I think you go one more deep, which means you only had one guy hit 65% last year anyway, and you might be running one extra guy into the rotation this year that you trust with just a single veteran signing. And if you do that, then I think that it's going to be hard for him to hit those numbers, which, by the way, makes this deal look even better for Kansas City. He's a 5.5, 6 sack guy. That's what you just lost in Frank Clark. He'll play inside and outside, and you don't owe him anything because he's a super young player, and he knows that if he's productive for these next 2 years, you'll feel like you got a steal gold. If he plays 65% of snaps and you win the Super Bowl, I don't care about the $2 million. Sure. And he's going to get himself paid. Because if he plays 65% of the snaps and gets 7 or 8 sacks and plays 2 years and wins a Super Bowl here, he'll be 27 years old with a big contract coming his way from somebody, even if it's not here.
The part that I wonder factors in, and I don't know the answer, does it only count for games where you're eligible to play? I bring this up because we know there is still the looming possibility with Charles Omenihu of a suspension. Remember, that's out there. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but
typically, Typically, the 65% would include the games that he might miss.
So if that happens, then you're really talking about him not getting that incentive. We're referencing some domestic violence allegations going back to January or February, I believe it was, when he was not on the team yet.
Look, we know anything with the NFL, it could be next year.
It could, but in reference to this conversation, 65% of the snaps, that could obviously crush the chances of you getting that incentive, even if he's playing 65% for most of the season.
I assume he knew was a possibility when he signed this contract.
And that's why they're also, they're categorized a little bit differently than just a normal incentive.
Someone, by the way, in the text line says that if you let them stay there, Nick, they'll cook dinner for them, for your parents.
I don't know. That seems like a dangerous game as well.
Yeah, I don't think Nick is going to have people over his parents' house. I'm going to go ahead and guess it.
Let's think about that pitch. Hey, Mom and Dad, some random person that you don't know.
For charity.
I don't know them either.
For charity.
For charity, they're going to come to your house, cook a meal, and you have to eat it and house them.
That doesn't sound all that bad.
Yeah. Why don't you have some listeners, Cody, stay at your house?
I don't think I've ever had a list. I don't think a listener's ever stayed at my house.
Why don't you just do that then?
How about I invite them to In Between or poker or something? Someone can bid to come play poker at my house.
I was thinking you thought it was such a good idea for Nick. Why don't you do the exact same thing?
Why don't have a spare meal and stay at your house?
I don't have a spare bed.
They can sleep on the couch. Sleepover, which we know
and
you're
they can sleep on your deck. One of your 5 decks.
What, are we having a camp out? They want me to set up a tent?
Something like that.
I mean, I own a tent. Hasn't been opened in a year or
something
two.
tells me neither of these will be the experiences, but we think we'll have 10 to 15 experiences. We've been telling you about a couple of them. Really excited for the garage sale, and we're trying to break a record, a new Cody and Gold garage sale record. Break our $7,000 mark from a year ago.
And just think about how much we could raise if somebody stayed at Nick's parents' house. That's all. Or your parents' house.
That's not happening either.
There's too many people who live in my dad's house. It won't work.
I don't think that'll be an experience for anybody across the board.
Just don't think so, huh?
No, that tells me. That's why we have stay and play experiences and other things.
Oh, like at actual hotels?
Yes, it turns out.
Interesting. Okay. I would like to keep in mind other experiences that could be available to us over the next 3 weeks before the Cody and Gold garage sale. That's all. We only got a few more weeks left, and I just want to make sure that we leave our options open. So, please consider that during this time. Nick, are you still mad at me? Are you going to come back and work here? You going to stay?
Yes, I'm still mad at you. You called me a
you
bitch.
Think he's forgiven you just like that?
And you dared me. You dared me to quit.
You've called me so much worse. In fairness, you've never dared me to quit. But you have threatened me physically many times.
You've also threatened me.
Well, that's whataboutism.
It's one thing for us to joke around and when we're all having fun, right? We're just having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing to tell me to quit. Like you don't want me here anymore. Like you don't.
That's not what
you
I
don't
said.
want me to be around. Like I'm not good enough for you.
That's not what I said. You're a very good producer, but I don't like people who threaten me. You first threatened to leave.
You can't just apologize, right? You've always got to make it about what I did.
Yeah, maybe.
This is why I need to go.
I want to grow as a person.
You're running them away, running them off.
Nick,
I won't be the last, Gold. I'll just let you know that now.
I'm sorry. Does that help? That make you feel better?
I love apologies when the person's laughing at the end.
Real genuine.
What? I laugh all the time. Now all of a sudden I can't be genuine because I laughed?
While apologizing. Anyway, let's talk about the Royals a little bit. They've had a rare 2 days in a row off.
It's
really
just
bizarre.
still so weird.
Really bizarre.
Feels like an all-star
I was
break.
checking that and I was like, wait, is that right? I was checking the schedule real quick and I was like, 1 day off, I assumed. That surprise, they're back at home. I guess they've still been at home, but they're back at Kauffman Stadium tomorrow when the Rockies are in town. And now that the month of May is over, you take a look back at individually some leaps that took place. In particular, Michael Massey, so much better in the month of May. Completely different player in the month of May. Grew at the plate, to say the least. Alex Zumwalt and company get credit for that. He looked lost in April. I think it's fair to say. Very fair.
I don't think it's unfair at all. No.
And May looked like a completely different player at the plate. We had Michael on last week, I think it was. We asked him kind of the differences and where he's at now in his game and all that. I think it's also giving the Royals maybe some options if an offer comes along for Nicky Lopez closer to the trade deadline, now that maybe you feel a bit better.
Which would maybe make some room for Nick Lofton if you wanted to call him up.
But I know, I'll be honest, I get it. There's Royals fans say, I'd like to also have been sitting here on June 1st and said, well, Bobby Witt took a leap. Give me more reason.
I can't tell you that. He looks exactly the same as April as he did in May.
MJ Melendez took a leap. Can't really say that either.
Stat lines are about the same. But that doesn't, like, to me, it's in it. I'm not going to pretend for a minute here, Gold, that it's not easy to be pessimistic about the Royals. They're not in a good place right now from a winning standpoint. And I don't think they deny that or any conceivable sense of it. But I'll take the win where it's there. Yeah. I can go through right now and I can look up NJ Melendez or Bobby Witt Jr. stats, and I can tell you that they were pretty much, statistically, they've walked a little bit more, right? But the batting average, on base percentage, OPS plus, there's not some big swing in either game. Versus Massey's, where there was a massive swing. But it's also 1 month. And with Royals players right now, the way the development's come, we have to be very careful about pre-evaluation of any Royals player right now. Because we have, at this point, seen glimpses from so many of them. Pitching in particular. We've seen glimpses from Brad Keller, glimpses from Brady Singer, glimpses, maybe Daniel Lynch goes on a 3-start stretch here where he really kind of tears it up because he had a nice start and a Royals win on Saturday. But it's like, you better be careful. One hot month for Massey doesn't mean that, MJ Melendez is not going to show a hot month in June.
Dude, that's been my whole thing for a while with these conversations about, this goes back to, you're talking about the young players, and I'm even more so on board. That goes back to even last year when we were talking about Brad Keller and some of these other, that's been my problem.
A little bit of revised hope. And
Yeah,
Keller's pitched okay.
Well, now he's hurt, though. But and he's probably not long for Kansas City anyway. But I'm totally on board with the cautious approach anytime we see glimpses of anybody for a month or 3 weeks.
So I'm just going to take the win. Good job, Massey.
Yeah.
You righted the wrong from what was April. You look like a more confident player. Let's see you look more confident in June.
This is why, when we talk contract stuff, go ahead and sign young players early. This is why I'm always cautious as well. I understand. It may feel like
it's a numbers game. You can't just sign one, has always been my argument. You have to throw numbers at it because then the contracts make sense. For the ones that do hit, you're underpaying. For the ones that don't, you're overpaying. But it equals out being the good ones are here, and you're paying them a good, fair, maybe slightly below market value.
Yeah, there's examples. Sometimes it's worked for some organizations. Sometimes it hasn't, right? Where they'll sign 4 or 5 players well before they need to or have to, I guess is probably the correct way to put it. White Sox, obviously the Braves have done it. Examples of where it's worked in some cases, and it's been a mess. Bad. You got, as much as you need to know the talent, you also got to know, do they fit the clubhouse? Do they all work together? That's some of the issues in Chicago right now with the White Sox. It's not just the talent, but just seems like a bad mix of talent.
And Grifol hasn't put it all together yet. They got a new manager, and they're just a mess. It's easy, becoming a mess in sport, it's very easy. It's easy to just be like, well, we got the wrong collection of people all together here at the wrong time, and no amount of talent's going to save our problems. But, what's funny is, I don't feel that way about the Royals yet. Because, offensively, I do see how they work, Bobby and MJ and Vinny, and it's like, if you can just get one more of these guys really heading in that trajectory of what they're supposed to be as big league players, I can buy in. It's just so hard. Bobby is in his second full season as a big leaguer. MJ's only in his first full season as a big leaguer, but so is Massey, and he seems to have adjusted now, and he's having, that's as good of a month as I've seen from either of those two guys, at any point. He slugged almost 1,000, or OPS of almost 1,000, slug of 550. That's almost as good of a month as I've seen from MJ or Bobby at any point during their big leagues career. And it's not like Massey's been up forever. He just got comfortable. I'm waiting for those guys to, I'm just waiting for them to look comfortable, Gold. It's not even necessarily the numbers. Because I can watch Bobby Witt Jr. and be like, good God.
Last week.
Ridiculous.
Last week, he had 5 hits, something like that, and nearly had a cycle.
Yeah. Was it triple short? That was a pretty good, the one.
But still, I think he had 2 home runs in that game or something as well. In fact, one went right off the top of the wall, where just one of those where you're hoping it didn't go out of the park so we could have it.
Yeah, because then you knew it was going to be a triple for Bobby Wood Jr.
Again, the Royals, though, off today still, then tomorrow back in action, all the big slick weekend stuff going on. A little bit later on this week as well. It's something that you tweeted about. We mentioned earlier. I saw your tweet. 65 days since Chiefsaholic took off that ankle bracelet, has been on the run since, unaccounted for.
Nick is still claiming, I'm assuming he'll be a free man forever. We'll never hear from Chiefsaholic.
I have no reason to back down from that.
He is DB Cooper. We will never hear from Chiefsaholic ever again.
I mean, that just adds to the mystique of the story.
Well, sure. Well, being on the run for 65 days, absolutely.
That's an impressive amount of time to be on the run.
Because I still think there will be a day randomly we will wake up one day in the middle of the show. I don't know if it's a month from now, 2.5 years from now, I don't know, where all of a sudden he will be caught. And we'll have to fill in the blanks of where the hell have you been for the last 2 years or whatever. Like, so it's going to happen, and it's going to, bring the story back to life.
Are you starting to think it's going to be years now? Years before
No,
he's
I'm just giving an example.
What's your revised timeline again?
6 more months. I don't know.
Such a long time to be on the lam.
I don't know, man.
It's tough when it gets cold out. When the weather turns.
You got to start going inside somewhere.
I still think the window.
Unless you get somewhere warm.
To me, the window is the first 2 weeks, and then because now you just give him so much time. Who knows where the hell he's at?
You would entertain the idea that he's out of the country this time, though, right?
I still don't think he's out of the country.
We have 65 days.
I know it's not a damn movie, though. Okay, like we can talk.
Most people are going to wait for 65 days.
They're going to make a movie, but I don't think he's out of the country.
I think he's out of the country. Nick, I think he's in Mexico or Canada or.
Maybe. The only country I would even entertain is Mexico. That's the only country I would even entertain.
Why would you go to
at.
Canada?
I'm not going to
Nick's
Canada.
going to see him in Paris.
You think he was just?
I wouldn't turn him in.
I wouldn't turn him in.
I would walk up, give
He's
him
a
a fist.
criminal.
I would walk up, give him a fist bump, and I'd say, "Stay strong, brother."
I think Mexico.
Take a selfie with him.
Mexico would be the only country I think that he could have just crossed the border and been all right. No questions asked. Let's go. I don't think he's going up to Canada.
I don't know where he is, but he's a free man for 65 days now.
For now,
you're not really free when you're on the run.
He's a man on the run. He's not.
He's free from imprisonment.
That's fair. But he's definitely not. Yeah, he's definitely not a free man. The minute his ass is behind bars pretty quickly.
Well, you don't think Andy Dufresne was a free man?
Technically, no.
Okay, that's a movie.
And it's another example of it's not real life. It's not like Chiefsaholic had a friend chilling on a boat.
I like to think in the next scene, the feds descended upon that beach.
They followed Red because they're like, well, he's going to go see his buddy Andy. That's why we released him. That's the sequel to Shawshank.
Yeah, Red was actually working undercover.
The whole time. Damn, all that effort, all the sewage. Anyway, all right, guys. C-Dot out today. Binks in on the drive next.